Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, councillors. Welcome, members of the public who are here today. Welcome to residents listening online. I might just ask, I think we've got somebody online. Do you mind muting, please?
Are you on a conference call, are you?
Are they muted? Mr. Perfect. Thank you. All right. I declare the meeting open at 7:04 p.m. So it's good to have you all here this evening. Members of the public that have registered to speak by audio-visual link on an agenda item are asked to keep your microphone muted and video off until I invite you to speak, please. And speakers will not be able to present material as part of their speaking time or share their screen. Everyone at this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone, do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks, and defamation laws apply to addresses in public forum. I also ask councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. I remind all present that the video recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with the Government Information Public Access Act 2009. No other recordings are permitted. I'd like to begin by acknowledging country. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Gadigal and Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. The people of the Eora Nation, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and the land, our Mother Earth. I now move to our opening prayer, and I would like to invite Reverend Adam Clark from St Stephen's Anglican Church, East Lakes, to open the meeting in prayer. Please be upstanding.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for the many blessings that you have given to us, for the life we have and the relative peace and safety we enjoy. We thank you for the wonderful diversity of our local community. Father, we do ask for your mercy upon our divided world. Please bless the efforts of all who are working for peace. We give you thanks for the life of Queen Elizabeth II. May her example of service continue to inspire many. Heavenly Father, I thank you for the staff and the councillors of Bayside Council and for their service. I pray that you would bless their labours as they strive together, working for the common good. Strengthen them as they seek to enrich the lives of the residents of our local area. Lord, guide the councillors as they meet this evening. Give them your grace in their discussions and give them your wisdom in their decision making. And Lord, we pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Thank you for making the time to come and join us. We appreciate your presence. Okay, this takes us to item 4, apologies. So an apology has been received from Councillor Douglas. Are there any other apologies or councillors seeking a leave of absence? Okay, so we have a request for attendance by audio-visual link, and that's been received from Councillor Muscat and Councillor McDougall. As we have both Councillor Muscat and McDougall wishing to participate in this meeting by audio-visual link, may I have a motion? Would someone like to move and second that the councillor request to attend by audio-visual link be granted? Moved Councillor Jansen, seconding Councillor Cedric. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, declare that carried. We now have disclosures of interest. Does any councillor wish to make any disclosure of interest? I might go. Okay. Shall I? Okay, so I might go round just so we. Councillor Morrissey.
Yeah, they're on the screen. Item 10.1, declaring a special disclosure as I have a pecuniary interest in item 10.1 on the basis that he that I only have that I own a property in that area, which is the principal place of residence, as specified on the form that I've provided to the governance team, and I will remain in the meeting for consideration and voting of the matter.
So just for the purposes of we'll stay in the order you've got it on the screen to save you going backwards and forwards. So just to let people know, this is a particular item in the papers tonight where most people will declare an interest purely because of the reasons they put forward. So Councillor Muscat, are you online?
Yes, I am. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary conflict of interest for 10.1, as I am an owner of a property in Bayside and I will remain in the room. The second one is for item 10.7 regarding the update of Botany Aquatic Centre, as I am a president of Botany RSL Swimming Club and we use the pool weekly as a not-for-profit organisation, and I will remain online.
Thank you, Councillor Muscat. We've then got Councillor Jansen. Councillor Fardell? No. Nothing.
I'm declaring a special disclosure as I have a pecuniary interest in item 10.1 on the basis that I have an interest in land, which is my principal place of residence as specified on the form, and I'll remain in the meeting for consideration and voting on the matter. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. Councillor Naji?
On the basis that I have interest in a land that may be impacted by the proposal and stated that I would leave the meeting for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Councillor Sandringham?
Yeah, I've got the same in relation to 10.1. Similar to what the declaration is. It's my place of my home. All the changes have no effect on ability of what's your regret to do one. On the city works and assets committee meeting held on the 4th of September, CWA 22 OTP proposed license to rock in the soccer club by the North Country. My previously declared non-pecuniary interest as my son plays for the team, and also I've been supporter of the city club. So I won't be in the chamber when this item is completed. And there's another one.
10.12.
Laura Pablo, I declared a business in the non-pecuniary interest. I attended a social function with an owner, and I won't be in the chamber when this item is dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sandringham. Councillor Souness?
I too have 10.1 as a disclosure, and I will leave the meeting for consideration of this matter as I did on the previous occasion. I'd like to also take another opportunity to make a comment as well. CW 22.022.
In what item, sorry?
CWA.
But in what minutes?
It's in the minutes of the City Works and Assets Committee minutes.
Yep.
And it's more or less an apology for some of the comments that I made, and probably the most appropriate time. I'll just quickly go through it. I take the opportunity to offer my apologies to the person I mentioned at the recent Council Works and Assets Committee meeting. I unreservedly apologise for any distress caused by the comments I made. Indeed, I applaud the passion that this person has for the future of Lyndham Hall and for future generations to enjoy. So just a comment I needed to make because I thought later on it's probably difficult. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Councillor Souness. Okay, Councillor Werner?
Yes, also on item 10.1, I'd like to declare a less than significant non-pecuniary interest on the basis that my family, our place of residence will not be affected in any way by the proposed changes either way, and so I'll remain in the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Councillor Wada?
Yeah, sorry, just maybe a correction, I'm not quite sure. With the one that Councillor Sandringham did, that was 10.13 rather than 10.12. just a correction, unless I'm mistaken.
The
that
Boulevard
one
car
here,
park is
that-
10.12.
Is it? On the paper, not the response to questions, yeah? On
No, 10 point,
Okay.
it is
sure.
response to question 10, yeah, 10.12. Yep,
Okay.
so that one?
No, sorry, same, I will declare on 10.1, if we could go back to my declaration there. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll declare 10.1 again, pecuniary interest on the basis that family members will be impacted on that particular proposal, and I will be leaving the chamber and not voting on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Rawada. Councillor Barlow.
Declare a special disclosure. I have a pecuniary interest in 10.1 on the basis I have an interest in the land, which is the principal place of residence, as specified in the form, and stated I will remain in the chamber for consideration and voting on the matter.
Thank you, councillor Barlow. Councillor Hannah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, look, 10.1, property that I own will not be affected either way by the proposed changes, so I'm declaring a less than significant non-pecuniary interest, and I'll remain in the chamber for voting on the matter. If it happens to change, I'll stand up and declare an interest, because you don't know what might happen with lot sizes and widths and all that sort of thing, but as it currently stands, non-pecuniary, non-significant. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Hannah. Just noting that councillor McDougall has not joined the meeting yet, but will be joining the meeting shortly. Councillor Cedrak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too would like to declare interest on 11.3 CWA 22023, similar to Councillor Savranovsky in regards to memorial playing fields. If we can just get his pecuniary interest, it's almost the same. So I'll be leaving the chamber for that as well. Apologies for that.
For
11.3 CWA.
22023, the licence.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
That's right. And the second one is 10.1, similar to other councillors. Less than significant non-pecuniary, I'll be in the chamber for that one as well, but it's on record. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor.
Maybe if I could seek some advice. I don't have any property that would be possibly changed towards this. However, if similar things, if it were to take place, similar to Councillor Hannah, I'm happy to walk out.
Seek advice from governance.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have only copied what was declared previously, so I think in the last meeting you did declare and walk out. So it's about if any of your principal place of residence, if you have any other interests in residential property like investment, or your family and associates have interests in investment properties, then you can't rely on the special disclosure. I think that's probably why you declared it.
Sure. So in that advice, I'll walk out. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Cedrak, and I'll declare mine as well, please. 10.1. I declare a pecuniary interest in item 10.1 on the basis that I own a residential property which is directly impacted, and I will leave the meeting for consideration voting on this matter and hand the chair over to the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Fardell.
In light of what Councillor Soona said about the Lyndham Hall Management Committee, I was going to mention this later, but I'll mention it now. So I've been made aware that a phrase I used at the City Works and Assets Committee meeting on the 14th of September was misinterpreted, and I regret any misunderstanding. And if there was anything else I said that caused offence, I apologise, because I really think the Lyndham Hall Committee does a fantastic job, and particularly Ms Workman does an amazing job, and I said that at the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fardell. All right, that completes the disclosures of interest. We'll now move to item 6, which is the minutes of the previous meeting. And for this one, can I please ask two councillors who were present at the meeting to move and second the confirmation of the minutes of the 24th of August 2022, subject to the following correction: to item 11.3 CPE 22.023 draft planning proposal minimum lot sizes for dual occupancies and semi-detached dwellings, and item 5 disclosures of interest that Councillor Bill Saranowski declared a special disclosure pecuniary interest in item 11.3 CPE 22.023 on the basis that he only has an interest in land in which his principal place of residence has specified on the form, and stated he would remain in the meeting for consideration and voting on the matter. The minutes were updated to reflect this amendment. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Souness, seconded Councillor Jansen. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, councillors, this brings us to a couple of presentations that we're going to make tonight. So the first presentation, we have the member for Heffron here, Mr. Ron Honig. Welcome to council tonight, and Mr. Honig is here to offer a certificate of recognition to Bayside Council. Welcome.
I took the opportunity in Parliament to pay tribute to you and the Council for the Bayside Council Seniors High Tea. I must say, Madam Mayor, it was probably one of the most outstanding civic events I've seen staged by any council. In fact, I would have been proud to be able to stage an event of that quality. I suppose the true measure of its success was in the faces of the senior residents, particularly those from my electorate, who were so appreciative of the council's effort. And in fact, as you saw them or spoke to them, they very much valued the respect that was shown by the council's effort at that morning and afternoon tea, or high tea as it was called, and a respect that they're entitled to, bearing in mind they've shaped the very community we're a part of. So in Parliament, I said this. I told the House, I congratulate Bayside Council, along with its Mayor, Dr. Christina Curry, and councillors on staging the Seniors High Tea, honouring the contribution of local seniors. This was by far one of the most outstanding Bayside Council event I've had the privilege of attending. The Mayor and councillors should be proud of the manner in which the council organised and staged the high tea, which respectfully placed our local seniors front and centre for the occasion. From the arrival of guests to the high tea service and entertainment, every detail of the event was well thought out and considered to ensure that each of the local seniors who attended enjoyed the occasion. I congratulate the Mayor of Bayside, Dr. Christina Curry, who seemed to be making inroads in ensuring that residents are the focus of council services and directions. What I said is part of Hansard and becomes part of the permanent record of the state. I've had Hansard extracted and placed in a parliamentary certificate, and would like to, on behalf of the Parliament of New South Wales, present to you, on behalf of the Council, this certificate of appreciation and thanks for what you're doing for our senior residents.
we've got another certificate of recognition to hand out tonight. And tonight we're recognising another one of our outstanding locals for the wonderful work they have done in the Bayside LGA and beyond. Our award tonight goes to Vicky Johnston, who works tirelessly for the most vulnerable in our community. Vicky is a domestic violence specialist, counsellor and trainer, and representative on several local interagency advisory groups, regional and state committees. We're very lucky to have you as part of our community and supporting council too. Vicky has received several awards for her work, including Heffron Women of the Year and a finalist for the New South Wales Woman of the Year in 2011. And Maroubra Woman of the Year in 2017. A passionate advocate for the safety of women and children, Vicky has contributed to the development of legislation, policy and professional development both in Australia and overseas. Recent achievements include establishing a community hub, addressing the issues facing our most vulnerable. Vicky was also co-creator of the We're Better Than That video campaign, which for those that are interested can find those on our website, encouraging the community to be active bystanders against domestic and family violence. With 16 years managing a domestic violence specialist family support service, following 22 years working in state government, Vicky also works as a domestic violence trainer for the Education Centre Against Violence and previously TAFE New South Wales. Vicky is a registered counsellor and professional supervisor and a very active volunteer in the community. In 2016, Vicky was our domestic violence advisor, also was an advisor for Bayside Women's Shelter. On behalf of the community, Vicky, I'd like to present you with this certificate of recognition to recognise your enormous contribution over many, many years supporting the people in our community at times of need who have really needed that care. So thank you for everything you do, and I'd like to invite you up. I'll also, seeing that, I'll invite the member for Heffron too, as you were Heffron Women of the Year at one point. Okay, thank you. And I just note, welcome Councillor McDougall. I note that you are online. Did you want to declare any disclosures of interest?
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I don't believe so.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Okay. This now brings us to item number 7, which are the Merrell Minutes. So the first Merrell Minute is the proposal to build a floating island for the ponds in Sir Joseph Banks Park, Botany. This raised a lot of community interest. There's swans that were at Sir Joseph Banks Park who were trying to nest, and what was happening was they weren't, their nests were being, I guess, attacked, we don't know by what, and so it was an issue and it became a real, the community were very concerned. So we're very excited that we've made progress on the construction of the floating island for nesting swans and turtles in the ponds in Sir Joseph Banks Park, Botany, which will be a really good first trial. This project is fully funded through a grant of $20,000 through New South Wales Ports Community Grants Program, and it's a real collaboration effort with the community and business partners, including Western Sydney University, New South Wales Ports, the Fix-It Sisters Shed and Wires. Council has long been concerned about the state of the ponds and the risk to wildlife from introduced predators such as dogs, cats and foxes. So the black swans last season failed to breed as their nests were either destroyed by other animals or flooded. The eastern long-necked turtles are also at risk, and the floating island will support conservation efforts. It will be anchored in the middle of the pontoon and will increase survival chances for both species. Council congratulates all involved and would like to especially acknowledge the work of the Fixers Sisters Shed, who have been absolutely amazing and so knowledgeable. And I'd like to acknowledge Linda Prince, who's here with us tonight, and present you with a framed copy of tonight's Merrell Minute and pass on the Council's appreciation for their leadership and wonderful work in getting this project off the ground. So before I do, all those in favour of the motion say aye. Aye. Against, declare it carried. I would now like to invite Linda to come and receive for all your efforts, and I invite any councillors who would like to join me. Linda's done so much research, haven't you? Please pass on our thanks to the whole team. Okay, councillors, this brings us to 7.2, Merrell Minute on the expansion of Council's smart CCTV network at the car park, the eastern end of Sonone Avenue and Sandringham. And what I'd like to do here is note the expansion of the smart CCTV network and also acknowledge the efforts of council staff that have gone into this program of work. It really is state of the art. It's solar powered installation, industry leading, and it complements our CCTV network, which is working very effectively and rolling out subject to funds that become available or grants that we receive, and based on the feedback of residents and police data, so that we can inform the appropriate rollout of those things based on that evidence provided from the data. So these are the first in New South Wales to be powered through 100% renewable energy and have battery storage capable of ensuring power for up to 3 days. The CCTV solution is capable of monitoring parking bays within the car park with the ability to capture licence plates of offenders. The Council's CCTV network has already identified over 1,200 instances of illegal parking and has assisted St George Area Command investigations achieving multiple successful prosecutions. Residents are also reporting a significant decrease in hooning and antisocial behaviour. We will rely on, as I said, on the available data to prioritise the future placements. Is anyone like to speak? Thank you, Councillor Cedrak.
I just wanted to commend Council, the staff, yourself, Madam Mayor, and in particular Councillor McDougall, who carried on this charge of seeing through Sonone Avenue, Sandringham, and the CCTV footage. This is an amazing achievement. We used to get so many complaints, in particular in Sonone Avenue in Ward 5, whether it be the gate leading to the club, or whether it be the antisocial behaviour and the hooning. So I want to commend my fellow councillors and Councillor McDonald from previously, as well as the state member Steve Camper. This has been an amazing achievement, and to be the first in New South Wales, well done to all, and thank you for Ward 5.
Thank you, Councillor Cedrak. Any other speakers? All right, I move all those...
Sorry, can I just...
Oh, sorry, Councillor McDougall. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry to interrupt. I'll just be very brief that this has been a fantastic effort to get all these in place, and be glad to see the continued rollout of these cameras. And as Councillor Cedrak said, this has really been a joint effort, and definitely wouldn't have been possible without the state member Steve Camper really driving that all the way along. So kudos to all involved, and thank you again, Madam Mayor, and the rest of the councillors.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. No further speakers. I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. Against, I declare it carried. This takes us to Merrell Minutes 7.3. This is New South Wales Severe Weather and Flood Grant Funding. So I'd like to again acknowledge here the receipt of $2 million of severe weather and flood grant funding. We acknowledge the state government who partnered with the Commonwealth Government for providing this assistance. The funds were paid in 2 times $1 million tranches in April and July this year. This New South Wales Severe Weather and Flood Grant funding is designed to provide timely financial assistance directly to affected councils to support them to undertake immediate recovery activities. Council has identified several infrastructure projects that could benefit from this grant. The Sandringham Rock Buffer Implementation Project will benefit from part of this funding as council looks to repair the damage caused to the rock wall by the weather events. A complete program of works including roads and drains affected by the recent weather events utilising the $2 million will be developed and brought back to council via a report at the October 2022 meeting, and the program will be included as part of the Q1 budget review statement. So again, a great effort from council as well in seeking out those grant opportunities as well. Any speakers? Councillor Sandringham.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to support your Merrell Minute, and I would also like to thank our state member, Mr. Stuart Kennedy, for his efforts in terms of securing funding. It's very important to get this funding because, as we all know, our foreshores is not just designated for our residents. Based on its This is the crown and the jewel for all our beautiful beachfront. And regrettably, when we wrote to the former Prime Minister, we got nothing. So I must commend the state Liberal government for giving us the $2 million and thank our state member, Mr Camper, for his continuance in terms of work. It is very important down that area, and as a result of the flooding, $2 million, we can't knock back that.
Thank you, Councillor Saranowski. Okay, I put the Merrell Minute. All those in favour say aye. Against, I declare that carried. The final Merrell Minute, 7.4. This is Bay Street, Brighton, Les Sands closure trial. So this is very exciting news following an extensive campaign by Council over many years and the State Member for Rockdale, Mr Steve Camper. The State Government has agreed to support a trial of closing Bay Street for 6 weekends over the summer. So from the Friday evening to the Sunday, where it will be closed off. And we saw, for those of you that attended the Streets Alive Festival in Brighton Les Sands in May, it was an outstanding success and proof that such a concept that the street closure is a workable proposition. We also believe that the weekend closures will assist in our fight against antisocial behaviour in Hooning, particularly on Friday and Saturday nights, which impact a lot of the residents. The closure will also enable local businesses to expand their trading footprint so they can create a wonderful entertainment and dining precinct. So there's still a lot to do, and we now have a plan, and you know, this is a trial, and we'll certainly take the opportunity to get feedback and look at, you know, what the potential is to progress forward with this. So a very good outcome for, you know, years of campaigning by council and the state member. So very exciting. Any speakers? Councillor Saranowski.
Madam Mayor, I rise to support your Merrell Minute and thank the staff for their cooperation in terms of, I know this is only a trial, but this is the start. You may recall a few months ago where we said that we need to outsmart Transport New South Wales, and behind the scenes, you and the state member were working behind the scenes in terms of Transport New South Wales. From day one, they were dead against it. And Steve Camper, to his credit, I know I give him a hard time, to his credit, kept chipping away. And he said to me a few months ago, he goes, I'm on this battle to do a trial. And he did it. And I want to thank Steve Camper. I also want to thank, Madam Mayor, the broader community. I've got to thank, you know, the business community. I've got to thank Peaceful Bayside. I've got to thank the Bayside Community Organisation for their interest in Bay Street. This is a community win for everybody, and from the festival that we had, the closure for those 2 weeks, that's just spurred more and more confidence back into the jewel for us, which is Brighton Les Sands. I was there last night. I go to Brighton at least 2-3 times a week, and I was sitting at one of the restaurants, and we're at the front, and we couldn't actually communicate because there was car hoods going up and down. This is midweek. So we actually had to go back to at the end of the restaurant, and so we could talk. And I spoke to the owner of the restaurant. It's a small business, it's family business, and they just lifted them. The fact that, you know, we're going to go on trial the last 2 weeks in December and all of January. That's the peak of their business, Madam Mayor. That's the peak of their business. And as we're investigating it, you know, walking on the strip, they just, instead of being depressed, they're actually looking forward to this partial closure. There is going to be some issues. You know, it's not going to be an easy task. There will be issues, particularly public transport, the bus stops. It's good that we're on top of it. I want to thank the General Manager and the staff. Just a couple of suggestions, if I may, Madam Mayor, for the staff. We need to approach Novotel, and this is a suggestion, that as you go along Bay Street, where the street's closed off from Mud Avenue, we should be advertising the fact, if we can do a deal with Novotel, and speak to them, you know, when you've got those machines or the road closed and that, if we can put flashing lights to say free parking at Novotel. Free parking if we can, at Brighton Public School. Because when we had the street closure a few months ago, the biggest problem, as we all know, is lack of parking. Councillor Cedric had to hire a bus for his church, and they had to park miles away. So it's just things that if we can take on board, approaching Novotel, their car park will be closed, fronting Bay Street, but they've got the entrance into Princess Street. So that's an opportunity if we can talk to them. In relation to what we can do, I don't know if we can do temporary angle parking, for those weekends. We did it many years ago when we had activities in Brighton where Princess Street and Gordon Street, or even England Street, it's a wide road. And if we could look at doing something. The other issue is, Madam Mayor, I'd like the rangers to go down there, but also to show some compassion, because the last thing you need is you have a family event, you get back to your car and you find you've been booked for a little minor infringement. Not asking that we turn a blind eye, but because there's a lot of people that will go to Brighton now because they can sit and enjoy the fruits of Brighton. In relation to in relation to potential stores, I think the most important thing is that we've got to encourage our existing shopkeepers to take the opportunity to go into the street, into the footpath. Last thing I want is for us to go out and get some store holders that are selling food. So I just want to, I know the director of City Life, even if I've got my glasses and I can't see properly, but I know she's saying no. I just want to highlight that we can't, we talked about a few months ago or last year about pop-up foods things. If we can, try and encourage that, and as I said, the feeling in Bay Street and around is excitement. And I commend everybody and thank you for bringing down the Merrell Minute, and once again thank our local member. Thank you.
Thank you for those suggestions, Councillor Sandringham. Councillor Werner.
Thank you. I'd also like to commend this Merrell Minute. I think this is really a wonderful thing for Brighton Les Sands, and I'd also like to acknowledge the hard work of Councillor Heidi Lee Douglas, who has been campaigning about this for a very long time. I believe the first petition about closing Bay Street was presented to Council in 2020, and I believe there was unanimous support for it. So I think this really goes to show how a group of a community group can make such a big and positive difference to our local community. So thank you very much to the Peaceful Bayside Action Group, and I just think this is a wonderful thing for our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Councillor Cedric.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too support this motion. Well done to you. Well done to Mr. Camper. Amazing effort. This is truly the jewel of Bayside, Brighton. We all have campaigned on this for several years. And I want to recognise that this is not just something that's been happening during our time. This has been going on, and maybe Councillor Sandringham correct me, at least 30 years we've been talking about closing off Bay Street. So well done that we've got this going forward. I think it's an amazing idea. We all want this. However, there has been a lot of comment from shopkeepers, from residents who are for, who are against it. I think it's an amazing idea. However, I say to them, whether you're for or against, it is a 6-weekend trial. There's a community consultation. If you love the idea, if you think it's going to be amazing, give us feedback. Do consultation, because this will not continue unless we have good community consultation. And if you're against it and you think it's a bad idea for whatever reason, again, let's make sure we get good community consultation. I think it's an amazing achievement. Well done to all the councillors, to the staff and to the state government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cedric. Councillor McDougall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to support your Merrell Minute. Obviously, there are some concerns around what's going to happen in terms of clearways on the Grand Parade. But really, this is just a fantastic result for Bay Street. Council's been obviously campaigning on this for years and years. Steve Camp has been fighting for this pretty much from the day he got elected in 2015. So it's really been a struggle to bring Transport for New South Wales to the table. They certainly weren't called that when we started talking to them on this. I think they've gone through a couple of name changes since then. But it is really what I think will be a fantastic result. There's obviously, this was the right approach to take, I think, seeking the weekend trial closure. We've tried and failed in the past to get a more permanent closure or a pedestrianisation. So taking this approach and having a very clear message about what we wanted for this upcoming summer season, I think was so important to making this happen. And I commend you, Madam Mayor, for taking that approach with Steve Camper. And thank you again to all the staff who have been involved in driving this and getting us to this result. It is really great to see.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Councillor Barlow?
Well, I'll just put it in all into perspective. When we were told about the clearways or maybe the trial, I thought very cynically yes, of course. We're now going to have totally no parking on the Grand Parade. The other thing is, this can't go ahead unless it goes in the budget. And I believe it was a lot of money just to close it for one weekend. To close it for 6, that is an excessive amount of money. I'm sorry, it is a lot of money. If it was maybe it could be 300,000, 50,000 a weekend, vaguely. I'm not sure how much it is. I thought, it was going to be once which would replace the fireworks, which maybe is 100,000. I can't remember, but it's a lot of money. And the Transport New South Wales, where's their money? Show us the money. They paid, the state government paid last time. Now, they've just given us, we'll just give this to them because they know they want it. But wouldn't it be nice if they actually gave us some money? Because it's got to come from the budget. It's got to come from somewhere. And it can't, if that's the figure that I've got, of 6 weekends, roughly that, with one weekend, that is irresponsible to spend it all, I'm sorry, in one area, that amount of money. And the Transport New South Wales were just doing it, I'm calling it a bribe. Looking at Mark Speakman when he put that speech up, this is what we're doing, that was insulting. He doesn't care about anyone in Bayside. I'm just doing this because of the Sutherland residents. We don't care about the Sutherland residents, time to catch a bus. So I'm very hesitant. It's a great idea, but you have to be responsible and you've got to have a budget for it before you can even do it.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Barlow. We can provide some information around the budget. I think it's important to remember that whole festival, which was funded by the state government, was around, close to 500,000, but that included a whole lot of things. So the road, I wouldn't want to quote those figures. But we can have a look at what that would cost, definitely. All right, no other speakers. I put the Merrell Minute. All those in favour say aye. Against? I declare it carried. I just wanted to just bring up one thing. You will recall our previous Merrell Minute on the 22nd of June highlighting the Council's objection to the previous Minister for Planning's proposed reforms to the developer contribution system in New South Wales. So these reforms would have resulted in a loss of around 10 million per annum for Bayside. So we, advocated quite strongly for that, and the Merrell Minute that we all supported was shared across all councils to use. At the time, the Minister suggested that the shortfall could be funded by increasing council rates, and it has been, I just want to flag, it's been reported in the mainstream media today that this proposal will be withdrawn. Although we are yet to receive official confirmation, today's paper has announced that industry sources have confirmed that the proposal's been scrapped. So we're hoping that that is the case, and the legislation, even though it still remains before Parliament, but will not proceed. So we shall wait official confirmation and confirm, but I thought I'd just give you that update because council's been very vocal about this, so.
Madam Mayor, can I just, it's wise move because they sent the message out last year, if I can't remember, that they weren't going to pursue the legislation, but all they did was deferred it. So once we get confirmation, can we write to the member for Heffron, who's now a friend of Bayside Council, Michael Daly, and Steve Camper and Chris Minns, because I can tell you that our side of the fence, we were dead against it, and I'd spoken to the opposition spokesman for planning. If it's true, this is a tremendous win, not only for Bayside, but all local government. So I pray it's true until we get confirmation. They did that before when Minister Stokes sort of sent messages out that he wasn't going to pursue it, but it was still on the books of the Legislative Council. Thank you, but good on you.
Thank you, Councillor Sandringham. Councillor Hannah.
Madam Mayor, I can't resist. This is terrific, but just bear in mind we need to push for that further amendment, because until we can get that legislation changed to allow us to quarantine components of the developer contributions for the purposes of maintaining and renewing the assets that arise out of them, councils all over New South Wales are going to have enormous amounts of developer contributions in restricted funds that they are reluctant to spend. So that is a really structural financial flaw. So I just wanted to remind everyone in the chamber about that. It's coming up at the local government conference, and I hope we get full support for it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and many councillors are going to that conference where we will have the opportunity to debate many of those motions. So that's great. Thank you, Councillor Hannah. All right, that now takes us to item 8, which is items by exception. So prior to the public forum, I will now proceed to deal with the remainder of the business on the paper by exception. And I've withdrawn items where councillors have indicated that they have an interest. And so what I'll do now is I'll go around the councillors, and please let me know if you would like to withdraw any items. So at the moment, I've got 10.1, I've got 10.7, 10.8, 10.12. In 11.2, I have number 29 and number 30. In 11.3, I have number 22 and number 23. In that's what I have today, and I have in I'll come to that because I'll declare it. So they're currently the ones that will not be by exception. We will debate them as well as the notices of motion. So I'll just, other than the ones I've called out, if there are any others that the council would like to pull out, I'll go round the room, and please let me know. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Fidel. Councillor Jansen.
At 10.5.
10.5. Thank you. Councillor Naji.
Yeah, just brought to my attention on 11.2, CPE 22.029, I'll declare a conflict of interest on the basis that I am on the Eastern Panel, City Eastern Panel, and I will not be taking part in this. So I'll be leaving when this is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Naji. Councillor Sandringham. No items. Councillor Souness. No items. Councillor Werner.
Could we, I think we've already got 10.7, which is the climate one. Then there's also at 11.2 CPE 22.030, the one about the contributions.
Yeah, that's
plan.
out.
Oh, that's already out. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Which was the first one you said?
The first one was the 10.7. So actually, I'm a little bit confused because there's some things on this on this list that's actually different to what's on the on Big Tin Can.
Different numbers.
So one of the things that I've noticed is a bit different. Is there's something about Gardner Park which I couldn't find in the actual business papers, but it's printed here on this document here. So that
No, it's not on the business paper.
Okay, good.
So,
well, then the only ones are then 10.7, which I believe you've already mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Lyndham Hall's already there. Yeah, and then just at 11.2, about the contributions plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Werner. Councillor Wada. Councillor Barlow.
So 10.7 or 10.8, the response to questions, are they being redebated now? I thought they were just responses to questions.
No, they're just responses to questions.
But they're being pulled out, so...
No, so...
Because I didn't think we were allowed to do that.
The one that it seems on the screen that 10.7 is the Botany update.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but the one that I wanted to speak to was the Climate Action 2022 one, and I don't know what number that is on your
Oh, that's
document.
10.10.
Okay, so that's the one.
That's
that
the
I
one.
wanted to-
Okay.
So this document's wrong then?
Yeah, this is wrong.
Business papers is 10.8 is the Art and Culture Advisory Panel, but on the printout it's 10.5.
All right, so you just tell me the item and then I'll use whatever numbering I've got. So, which is the Bayside, we've called that out already, the arts and culture, that's fine. Yep. Councillor Barlow, did you want to?
Just to clarify, these are responses to notices of motion, which is just a standard response from the are we redebating them?
No, we're not redebating them.
They've been called out. There's responses and I can't get it on the computer at the moment. So
Yeah, but
just
you can speak to
clarification
the
if...
response to notice. But they can, you can still speak to them. Yeah, can't you?
We weren't allowed to once before.
Through you, Madam Mayor, you are able to discuss responses to notices of motion and debate those. You are not able to discuss responses to questions with notice.
Sorry, you didn't hear me. Sorry, the microphone. Councillor McDougall, I've got you as 11.2, number 29, the draft planning agreement, because you sit on the Eastern Region Planning Panel. Is there anything else you'd like to pull out?
No, just that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. All right. So therefore, that the recommendation, so just to clarify for the purposes of the meeting, we are pulling out 10.1, the draft planning proposal for minimum lot sizes, and don't worry about the numbers, but just listen to the title. 10.5, disclosure of pecuniary interest return. That wasn't it, no. So, okay, so not that one, we'll leave that one. So then it was 10.7, the update to the Botany Aquatic Centre, because that's Councillor Muscat. Then it was 10.8, response to notice of motion for the Bayside Arts and Culture Advisory. 10.10, response to notice of motion on climate action. 10.12, response to question, and that's being pulled out because someone's declared an interest. In the minutes of committees, 11.2, I'm pulling out number 29 and number 30. In 11.3, I'm pulling out 22, 23. And I would also like to add in 11.4, the minutes of the Traffic Committee, I would like to pull out item 106. And that they are all the items. So if everyone is happy with that, can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Fardell, seconded Councillor Jansen. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, this now takes us to the public forum. So thank you for your patience. So members of the public who have applied to speak at the meeting will be invited shortly to address the meeting. We have 10 speakers tonight dealing with a number of items. So 11.3 Lyndham Hall, 12.1 Notice of Motion Walleye Creek Regional Park, item 12.3 Notice of Motion Expansion of LPR Smart Camera, item 12.6 Notice of Motion Memorial Garden Seat, notice of 12.8 Notice of Motion Places to Swim Grant. Speakers are advised that a warning bell will sound when only 1 minute of speaking time remains. Speakers who are joining the meeting via the Teams app are to have their video off and microphone muted until I invite you to speak. Speakers will be removed from Teams once the item has concluded. You can then watch the remainder of the meeting on Bayside Council's YouTube page. If you registered a written submission, these have been provided to councillors prior to the meeting. Speakers are reminded to keep communication factual, polite and professional, and to use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws apply to addresses in public forum. So, because there are a number of speakers to one item, the time is reduced. So as each speaker approaches, I will let you know. So we will be starting with the first item, which is 11.3, which is CWA 22.022 Lyndham Hall Management Options. So we have Miss Tina Workman, who's representing the St George Historical Trust and who is speaking for the officer recommendation. Mrs Workman, I invite you to come up and address us, and you have 5 minutes. Yes, thank you.
Hello everybody. I'm here to talk on item CWA 22.022 regarding the Lyndham Hall report that was discussed at the last City Works and Assets meeting. At the meeting, a decision was made to defer the report pending a further meeting with the St George Historical Society. I'd like to start by saying that the Society thanks Craig Daly for his report. It was a fair report, and Mr Daly kept the Society executive informed of the contents of the report as he was compiling it, and we appreciate the allowances he included for the concerns that we raised. We also thank the councillors for raising their concerns at the committee meeting. However, we believe the report should have been accepted with provisions in place instead of deferring it. Lyndham Hall has been closed since March 2020, and deferring the report also defers its reopening. Some of the reasons for deferring the report were unfounded and incorrect, and I thank Councillor Tsounis and Councillor Fardell for their apologies for myself and on behalf of our members. To be clear, the St George Historical Society understand and agree with the report in principle, but we do believe the fee is too high, particularly for a volunteer organisation that has as one of its main objectives to maintain a council asset and present it to the community. Putting all our energy and profit to a licence fee will mean less money for maintenance, conservation and exhibitions. Also, the fragility of the building and the objects within it limit the commercial capabilities of the site, thus restricting the income potential that we could possibly get. The Society does not intend to run Lyndham Hall as a commercial venture, nor will it be run for the benefit of our members. All profits will be returned to the museum to assist with the maintenance and in setting up regular local history exhibitions that will benefit the broader community. We have an energetic team of volunteers, young and old, ready and able to take on the museum and turn it into an active council asset. We're just waiting for access. For those of you that don't know, I'd like to give you some information about Lyndham Hall. It was purchased by Rockdale Council in 1970 for the purpose of conserving the property, which is now State Heritage listed, to open it to the public as a local history museum, and to provide a home for the St George Historical Society. The Society, together with Rockdale Council, jointly set about restoring the house in the 1970s and onwards. The Restoration Fund was set up by the Society, and this fund, together with funds from our membership fees, paid for work such as the building of the toilets, rewiring of the house, construction and installation of display cabinets, as well as painting, carpeting, general maintenance and repairs. Until it closed in March 2020, Society members maintained the interior of the house and opened it to the public every week, without fail, for over 49 years, with very little council assistance, financial or otherwise. Since the 1970s, Society members donated or purchased a vast array of objects and furniture, and today we have well over 2,000 objects in the collection, as well as a large archival collection of photographs, maps, letters relating to local history. Through the 90s, the role of the Society in the management of the house was diminished, and in 2018 we were asked to return the keys that we held for Lyndham Hall as the locks were being changed. We were advised that new keys would be issued when the locks were installed, but this did not occur. Ready access to the house has become difficult, and the result of this is that the Society has little access to the museum that was purchased to provide a base for its activities. Nor does it have access to its own collection, its archives or its files. And this has triggered a lack of activities, income generation, conservation, and visitor numbers have plummeted. In considering the report, we believe it will take some time to build up visitor numbers again. Also, the Society has the difficult task of cleaning the house after years of deterioration and 2 years of restoration work. It will take us many months to clean the remnants of builders' debris and dust from the house, unbox our collection and put the house back into presentation order. We believe that the report should be accepted with an amendment for the fees to be waived. If a decision about waiving fees cannot be made tonight, can we suggest that the report be accepted regardless, with a provision for further negotiations regarding fee structure? The quicker the Society can get access to the house and get to work, the sooner we can open this local gem to the community. And there was something that was brought to my attention today by one of our members, and to say that it's the only museum on the western side of Bayside, and it's the only museum in the entire LGA that's volunteer run as far as we know. So it's an incredible asset, and I think it's about time that we kind of started to pay it a bit more attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Workman. Can I take the opportunity to, on behalf of Council, to thank you for taking the time to be here tonight to speak to this item, but also for the many years that you've contributed to Lyndham Hall and to the St George Historical Trust. It's people like you that are vital as community members contributing to these things so that others can enjoy these wonderful historical spaces. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I'll just move the recommendation as it was written before. It's been a sort of a misunderstanding, and I hadn't spoken to them, and they're on a time frame because the officer doing it is actually going on leave. So there is a time frame, and anything that can be discussed at a later time, you know, like negotiations and that, as long as we start the process. The original recommendation.
The original recommendation with a mention that it be negotiated.
If there's anything, it has to come back to council or be brought up.
Yep. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Souness. Are there, Councillor McDougall, I notice your hand is up. Did you want to speak to it?
I was just moving to second that. Obviously, apologies to the St George Historical Society for some of the comments made at the committee meeting. It's obviously unfortunate that this decision was made without input from them with the original recommendation. So glad to see it corrected now that we've got feedback from Ms Workman.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Councillor Souness.
There still is a little bit of work to do, as Councillor Barlow suggested. One of the concerns that I had, the major concern, is not that the St George Historical Society can't undertake this work, the burden of maintaining the house into the future. If there's major costs involved, unless grants are available, unless they tap the shoulder of council, they won't be able to support that on their own. That was my concern. I wanted to sit down at the table and have that conversation with them so they're clearly aware of what lay ahead under that arrangement. The fee arrangement as well is another burden. Again, they're starting fresh, so to speak. How much revenue they'll be able to generate in the coming months and years is a bit of an unknown at this stage. And that's why I just wanted to, that's why I moved it, and I think it was second on the night, to adjourn it for a few weeks to have that conversation and a less formal position, and then come clearly to the table for them to sign the licence agreement moving forward. That was why we changed it at the time. But if there's an opportunity to change it down the track now, after they've accepted the agreement, by all means, let's do that way.
Thank you, Councillor Souness. Any other speakers? Councillor Werner.
Thank you. Yes, well, I just wanted to say that we should remember that the Historical Society have looked after Lyndham Hall for many years, so I think that we don't have to worry too much about whether they're capable of doing that or not, because they've actually proven that they are. As others have mentioned, it's mainly the licence fee that may need some negotiation, but I'd just like to support the original officer's recommendation of setting up the licence. And I also wanted to say that the Historical Society are quite active, and I actually had the privilege of attending a presentation about a local heritage item recently, and just wanted to congratulate the Historical Society for putting that on, because it was a really lovely afternoon and some really informative presentations. So I'm looking forward to what they're able to do at Lyndham Hall. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. All right, so we have, we're reverting to the original officer recommendation. We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour say aye. Against, I declare that carried. Thank you. All right, this takes us to item 12.1, notice of motion, which is on the Walleye Creek Regional Park, and we have a Mr. Peter Stevens online who is speaking for the recommendation. Mr. Stevens. Okay, so Mr. Stevens is not online, so we will leave that to the normal order of motions unless he arrives. This then takes us to 12.3. So this is in relation to the notice of motion, the expansion of LPR smart camera technology in hotspots across Bayside. So 12.3 has a report, so I might just ask the General Manager in the first instance to make a comment following the comment made on the actual report.
Thank you, through the Mayor. So some of the things that Council mentioned earlier when you were discussing the Merrell Minute, they're also pertinent to this matter and what I was going to expand on. I've made a comment at the bottom of this item, reminding councillors that you already have made a previous resolution on the 27th of April this year. In response to your motion, it was agreed that a feasibility study would be undertaken, and that feasibility study for CCTV, for the rollout of CCTV across Bayside, had 4 elements in it. First of all, the Have Your Say Hooning Hotspot website that we have had live for some months and continue to have live. And that's providing a really good heat map of where the issues are occurring in Bayside. And it's something that we will bring back to councillors now that we've collected enough data about that to really be able to see a picture emerging about where the complaints are coming from. We're also in discussions with the local area command and getting data from the police. We're using any other local and internal sources of information that we have. And really importantly, we need to physically look at potential sites, because not every site is suitable for a camera. You need to look at the topography, at whether there are poles there, whether poles could be implemented, what the line of sight from those poles would show. So whether or not the cameras would be effective or not. So on the basis that we are already doing that, we are already collecting that information, the view from our interpretation of what you had asked for back in April was that we would collect that data, we would bring it to you as in an action plan with some proposed next steps, and give all councillors the opportunity to, on the basis of the evidence and data, to really start to see, when funding was available, where you would like to see the cameras rolled out.
Thank you, General Manager. So I note there's a number of speakers here. So over the course, so I'm happy to invite, you've sort of had a bit of a summary of what's happening. So there is a process that is currently taking place, and I do encourage you all to contribute to that Have Your Say, because that is the vital data. However, you have registered to speak, so if any of you would like to continue to speak, I will invite you. It's up to you. Because there are so many speakers, I need to limit you each to 2 minutes for that purpose. So I'd like to call up Mr. Michael, well, the first speaker is Mr. Michael Madden, who's online speaking for the recommendation. So Mr. Madden, you've got 2 minutes. Would you like to address council, please?
Yes, thank you, Council, for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a resident of and long-time suffering Cloville Avenue resident. The insane level of hooning that is going on between Russell Avenue, Cloville, Riverside Drive, the park, etc. It is running between 9:30 to 2 a.m. every Friday, Saturday night, and it starts on a Sunday between about 3 and runs through to midnight. And I've heard the General Manager's comment about the data that has been collected, or what you guys are trying to investigate. And I do take issue that the police have rely on any of this, because they're never down there, and that's one of the greatest concerns, is that sometime in the near future, whether it be a resident that's walking their dog, riding push bikes, somebody that's in front of their own home, is going to get very badly hurt. So there is going to be a fatality. There's cars and motorbikes going past there in excess of 100 kilometres an hour all night, every night. And it's unchallenged, it's unsafe. And I'd love the council just to come down and see what is happening down there on a every weekend basis. You're welcome to come and stay at my place if you want to, but on a serious note, it's taken a beautiful area to a war zone. Thank you. That's what I just really wanted to have to say.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Madden, for taking the time to come and share your experiences. Thank you. I would now like to invite Mr. Bruno Vidach.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. I'd like to take the opportunity to express my concerns as to what's happening in our local area. I have been living on Riverside Drive for over 8 years and have witnessed the street deteriorate over the past few years. Firstly, there's been a steady build-up of youths hooning and parking their cars and motorbikes in our streets and using it as a social meeting point, usually between 8 p.m. till 3-4 in the morning. These groups have no filter. We hear all kinds of noises and profanities, and I can only call them beatboxes. I'm a bit old, so I don't know how else to call them, but the music that goes on, it's terrible. Secondly, when we do ask them to respect our space and keep the noise levels down, they laugh, ignore our requests, wait till we go inside, and then turn the music up again or urinate on our cars. The council has provided both commercial and domestic bins along the walkways, less than 100 metres apart. Yet these people prefer to use the street or the grassed areas to dispose of their rubbish. McDonald's, KFC and the like litter our area on a daily basis. To Mr Madden, I don't know the gentleman, it's not part of what I have written down here, but I would argue that it's not 3 or 4 days. I'd argue that it's more like 5 or 6 or 7 days a week. There's no respect for the traffic and the warning signs that have been placed, and we've seen them being vandalised or ripped out of the ground on a number of occasions. Why? It's because they can. And at what cost to the community? They don't care. Police have been called on a daily basis almost, and they have come and they have not come. It depends on their workload. They themselves could benefit from having the CCTV if needed. For example, on one occasion they were called and they attended and found a handgun in the bushes across from all of our homes. This CCTV would be able to help them find who disposes of such things.
Thank you.
Got to go?
Yeah, if
okay.
you don't mind.
No, I don't mind, but look, I'm glad I've heard what you're doing at Sonone. I think it's a wonderful thing, and truly, people don't realise that we have to have a stand, we make a stand towards these sort of things, because it's a beautiful area. People in this area are all community focused, and we love our area.
Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Stuart Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, councillors. Thanks, Paul, for arranging this opportunity, mate. My name's Stuart Kennedy. I've been a local resident for about a year. My wife and I shifted from Rushcutters Bay to live in Dolls Point. One of the biggest attractions for us to do so was noise. It was noisy in and around the Paddington Rushcutters Bay area in which we lived. Consequently, the peaceful amenity of Russell Avenue in Dolls Point was a big attraction for us. We visited the location on numerous occasions prior to buying there, and so we were set. Then about a week after moving in on Friday night, we realised we'd made a big mistake. This was not the peaceful living amenity we expected. Almost every Friday, Saturday and Sunday night, Hoons made it theirs. They still do. They rev their cars and their bikes loudly at speed up and down, up and down, up and down the avenue, usually between 9 p.m. or 1 a.m, depending on the night. Like everyone, they love a hot summer's night, but they go hooning. They often travel in convoy, creating a solid wall of very loud noise which has to be heard to be believed. I connected with the local police to be greeted by a lovely constable. She said, "Suck it up, Mr. Kennedy. We don't have enough police to cover what we need to cover, let alone trying to police hooning," unquote. She went on to say, quote, "Although I police in the area, I chose not to live here. And one of the reasons for that is hooning. So, Mr. Kennedy, suck it up, because unfortunately it's an integral part of living in the area." One resident told us it took him over 12 years to see worthwhile hooning action in his street. I sincerely hope you can help halt the hooning in Russell Avenue. If you can, we'll be very, very grateful. If you can't help in achieving worthwhile action on hooning in Russell Avenue, it probably won't worry us for too much longer, because if it continues, we're going to take the Lady Constable's advice and go live somewhere else. Your help would be appreciated, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
I'd also, if you're interested, this is an email I sent Mr. Jason Box on the 7th and the 11th of February, which I never received a response. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patrick Bugden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors. My wife and I have been residents of the now Bayside Council for 48 years, 47 of those living in Barton Street in Monterey. Although Barton Street is a busy street, particularly in peak hours, we were completely surprised when we moved to Russell Avenue, Dolls Point, and experienced what is happening there. Russell Avenue is a speedway. Few adhere to the 50-kilometre speed limit, and then on weekends, particularly in the evening, the hoons arrive. Hotted up cars and motorbikes, often in convoys, making as much noise as possible, obviously to annoy the local residents, and they certainly do that. A resident in a unit block next to ours, Donna, told us on weekends she has to move from her bedroom, which faces Russell Avenue, and sleep on the lounge in a living room to get some sleep so she can go to work next day. No doubt there are plenty of Donnas in our street. Also, Russell Avenue has many units on both sides and is difficult and often dangerous exiting driveways because of the number of parked cars restricting vision and the speed at which the vehicles and motorbikes travel down the street. It's obvious the police don't have the resources to deal with the speeding and hooning, and we are hoping that with the obvious success of the smart LPR cameras in other streets in the Sandringham area and what has been achieved in Sonone Avenue, the council will look favourably at using cameras and the proposed parking arrangements to provide relief to the residents of Russell and other streets mentioned in the motion. This hopefully will keep the hoons out of our area and make our streets quiet and safe again. Our thanks to Councillor Cedric for putting forward the motion regarding the council taking action to stop the hooning and antisocial behaviour in our area, which I strongly support, and thank you for listening to my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bugden. Have I got either Paul or Fiona Cipriano? Yep.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors. I'm a resident of Riverside Drive, and my family and neighbours are being constantly woken up and kept up with reckless driving, speeding, unsocial behaviour, and the street is left as a tip for the morning council workers. The council has taken action in other areas that were previous hotspots. The car parks travelling south to Dolls Point from Bay Street are all locked up at a certain time to deter the behaviour and remove hangout spots. Carruthers Drive in Dolls Point received a boom gate for its residents that is locked up after a certain time and access only for the residents to ensure they don't receive this behaviour. Vanston Street has recently received the smart CCTV cameras and has no parking after 9 p.m. The behaviour has been removed. The residents of Riverside Drive and Russell Avenue should also receive the same level of care that Council has provided for these residents with the use of smart cameras and restricted parking after a certain time. I'd like to thank the Councillor Cedric for putting this motion up. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councillors.
Thank you for coming tonight. And I have a Miss Ria Michels.
Hi, thank you. Basically, everything that I was going to say has already been said, so I won't waste everyone's time. But basically, to kind of follow up with what Bruno was going to say, with all the hooning and the antisocial behaviour, it's becoming really intimidating for all the residents, young and old. We have young children, we have elderly neighbours within the 30 to 40 metre place, and I'm sure it's not good for their mental health or for their disturbed sleep. So we have young women and myself, 30s, and then you've got the older people who are coming home late in the night, and people yell things out, and it's not just because we're wearing inappropriate outfits. I could be looking like this and they'd still be yelling at, you know, inappropriate things, swearing, and just, it's really disgusting. So what we really do thank is we thank Paul and we thank Heidi as well, who've been listening to us for multiple years now about this, and we really do hope that this does get approved, even if it's just the CCTV cameras, and then we can rethink, you know, the parking restrictions, even though, you know, we know from Sonone that has actually helped. So from, you know, on behalf of all of the residents of Riverside Drive, we really do hope that you hear us. Otherwise, I'll be back in a couple of months to probably argue the same thing. So thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks.
Thank you. No, look, thanks for coming and for speaking tonight. And, you know, we certainly acknowledge the challenges in that area and the frustration that you all must feel, and the impact it's having on you. And, you know, as the GM indicated, everything's subject to funding. So, you know, council is working on a strategy in order to then, you know, because there are numerous areas that have been indicated. So, and council are very good at getting grants, and I know are working very hard to get any additional grants so that we can continue to roll out the cameras in those hotspots that are being indicated on our maps. So know that we hear you, and that we certainly are conscious of, you know, working towards really supporting residents subject to funding. So we've got the motion in front of us. So I have the mover, Councillor Cedric. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fardell. Sorry? That's all right. Okay. All right. So Councillor Cedric.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll look at moving an amendment to that with all the comments. Firstly, I'd like to thank the residents and the speakers who have come. I know you've been on this mission for years, especially someone like Pat, who's been 39, almost 40 years in the area. This is amazing to have you guys here. Thank you so much. It means a lot that we hear this again and again and again. So the residents have constantly in these areas, Ward 5 in the southern section, on the way to the bridge, whether it be email, whether it be phone, whether it be petitions. I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to these residents about this issue. It is a major issue, and I want to thank Councillor McDougall, who is the one that really pushed for this investigation in Ward 5, and Councillor Douglas, who has been on this mission from the beginning as well, and previous councillors like McDonald, the Mayor, Sandringham. Everyone's been looking at this for a long period of time. We all know that this southern section of Sandringham, Dolls Point and Sans Souci is constantly under attack. We've looked at time parking, we've looked at slowing down the traffic in Riverside Drive through Councillor Douglas's previous motion. This is not working. What we've seen, councillors, is great success in Vanston Parade recently, Lena Street, Ida Street, and now Sonone Avenue. And what we're creating in that southern section is that we've got these wonderful cameras and the latest technology now in Sonone Avenue, wind and solar power, which is great. And as the Mayor in her Merrell Minutes said, we're getting 1,200 fines. This is paying for itself. There's no more justification than 1,200 fines. But more importantly is these residents who are struggling day in, day out. Now that the beautiful club there has opened up on Riverside Drive, it's adding more attention to this area. Now, why are these 3 streets important? If you have a look at that whole section, a lot of these young hoons, rev heads, whatever you want to call it, are coming from Brighton or wherever, coming down, they go through Clareville, they go through Russell, they end up at Riverside, and then they do a U-E again. See, they used to go to Vanston Parade, but we stopped that. They used to go to Ida Street, we stopped that. Lena Street, we stopped that. Sonone Avenue, we stopped that. But the thoroughfares in that southern part of Ward 5 is what's been affected. What's happening is they're travelling through those 3 main thoroughfares. Obviously, we'd love to put Sandringham Street in there, but that's a state government road. But what we need to focus on is those 3 streets. And so what I'm trying to get at right now is that these streets are very important in this equation. The General Manager, I want to thank her as well for making those comments. There is already a study under the way, and it's great to see so much feedback that we're getting. This is such a hot area. I know there's others, such as Walleye Creek and so forth. However, councillors, I ask that you police support this, if anything, to prioritise this motion. What this motion's about is 2 things, and I want to thank Councillor Sandringham for helping me draft this, and Councillor Morrissey. That, number 1, that Council investigate the feasibility in the next rollout. We're already doing that. So what we're saying right now is that this needs to be a priority, okay? That this antisocial behaviour in Russell, Clareville and Riverside, that we need to make that a priority in Ward 5, number 1. And number two, and I thank Councillor Sandringham for this, is so the cameras are effective. It's not just about getting speeding, it's also about when they are parked there for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, or at, 2 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday night, that we can if they're parked illegally, then we have parking restrictions with community consultation so that we can fine them. And that's how they will fund themselves. I know Councillor Barlow constantly says, how are we funding? Well, how are we going to get the money? And that's right. We as responsible councillors need to be looking at how we're going to get the money. This is a great thing that Councillor McDougall's the one that started this initiative. It's not mine. And even Councillor Poulos before me, and Councillor McDonald before us, and Councillor Tunis when he was Ward 5. No, sorry. Sorry.
So it's 5 minutes, Councillor
Okay,
Sedrak.
so just for the sake of the floor, I would love to amend this slightly, and if I can have Councillor McDougall, did you want to add to that amendment, please? I'll just check. And if
yeah, sure. And I've been talking to Councillor Sedrak about this during the meeting. I'd like to thank Councillor Sedrak for bringing the motion. So what we've discussed is changing the recommendation to 1, so that council include Russell Avenue, Clareville Avenue and Riverside Drive in Sans Souci, Dole Point and Sandringham for consideration of part of council's previous commitment to roll out further LPR/smart CCTV technology, and 2, that the Traffic Committee consider parking restrictions with community consultation in blah, 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 as per the previous motion. And I'll send those through to you, Foster. But obviously this is great, that we're doing more work as part of this rollout. There are obviously a lot of hotspots to deal with. This is certainly a bad one and should be, considered as such. And I'll be glad to see when this project goes in. We went down to see the cameras on Sonone Avenue and at the Sailing Club recently with local member Steve Camper and Mayor Curry, and they just, absolutely fantastic. So happy to support this with the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Are there any more speakers? So the amendment is, it's been changed on the screen, I believe. Has it? No? So is there a change to the first one?
So with the first one,
Sorry, I just sent that through to Fausto. He should be able to put it up in a moment.
Yeah, we might just wait and without maybe just everyone stand up and have a stretch. We've been sitting for too long. Okay, thank you everyone. Please be seated. That's okay, Councillor Cedric. Better to get it right. So what we have before us now is an updated notice of motion. So I'll just read out so that Council includes Russell, Clareville and Riverside for consideration as part of the Council's previous commitment to rolling out further LPR smart CCTV technology subject to funding sources, and that secondly, Council will investigate potential parking restrictions with community consultation and traffic committee in those areas as well, to look at what some options are. So any other speakers? Councillor Sandringham.
Madam Mayor, thank you. My name's been mentioned a few times. I just need to bring to the this council and the residents up front. I support the issue in terms of stopping cars coming into the area. The difficulty that I've got is, and I'm a frequent user of Russell Avenue, when we're talking about parking restrictions on Russell Avenue, what are we actually talking about? Because Russell Avenue, down the bottom end, it's already no parking from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Now we're talking about residential, as we go further up the street, are we talking about restrictive parking along that strip from Russell Avenue, whether La Beach is up to Clareville Avenue, because the most people that will be disadvantaged are these people here. They'll be disadvantaged because they won't be able to park their car. You can't actually park your car today. What I'd like to see, if I was given more opportunity to discuss this, was we need to look at some form of islands or something restrictive to stop the cars going up and down the street. But in terms of parking restrictions, it's actually going to be, it's going to disadvantage you. You can't park outside, you're blocking it anyway. In terms of Riverside Drive, it's pretty simple. What we do is, on the beach side, we put restrictive parking from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Simple. And then what we do is, we notify the police, please patrol the area. That's quick hit, straight away. I know, and I take on board what the gentleman said about it in terms of the police, but this is a very serious policing matter. This not just happens in Clairview Avenue, Russell Avenue and Riverside Drive. It happens everywhere. Actually happens in my street. Almost every second night it happens in my street. My heart goes out to the residents of that area, because I get some of the residents have contacted me, but I think we just got to fine tune that parking restrictions, because even in in Carruthers Drive, okay, the residents won't be able to park if we do both sides. But as a quick fix would be, the traffic committee should look at. So that's I think what we should not look at parking restrictions.
Yeah,
sorry, Madam.
Oh, sorry, Councillor. I think what the point 2 does do is says it investigates potential options within that whole area there.
Yeah.
So then that feedback that you're providing and
Yep.
with community, that then can inform
Yep.
other considerations there potentially. So it's not just on parking restrictions, but it's investigating, maybe it's a council also investigates traffic consideration, traffic calming or parking, or
Put that in there. Investigate traffic calming.
and potential parking restrictions. Yep.
Well, as long as we look at that, other than the parking restrictions, that's said, I don't want this to back around the residents.
Mm.
I wanted to add the third point, if I may. Our state members got a very task group that, if you can stop with him and then basically do that task group,
Task force, yep.
basically with the police, because what we need is quick blitz, for a few months, when the message goes out, there's kindness, there's all this antisocial behaviour, aren't welcome not only in those three streets, but anywhere in Bayside.
Okay. All right. So I think what we've done here is we've just covered, it's just investigating and then consideration as part of the program of work we're doing. And this won't go anywhere without community consultation. So don't worry about, anything like that would be through a process. Sorry, I can't take speaking from the floor, but don't worry. Councillor Souness.
Thank you. My heart goes out to the people. I live in Ward 5, one street over from Russell Avenue, and I know the cars that go up and down. I can see the kids that park in Alfred Street near me that leave their rubbish, their McDonald's, their KFC junk. It just happens all the time. It's continuous. So there's two elements to this. One is the actual parking restrictions, right? And we need to be a little bit careful in what we do. As Councillor Sandringham said, we'll take away the ability for our own people to be able to park outside their houses, for visitors to park outside their houses. I have a good friend who lives on Vanstone Parade. We went to visit him a few months ago. He says 9 o'clock, you better get in your car and go because you might get booked. So that's an issue that we need to be very, very clear and careful that what we wish for we might not like in the long run. But if we can get rid of the hoons from stopping and doing what they do, that's terrific. But in the meantime, the hoons are still moving. They don't stop. They've got phones. They talk to each other. If there's a police car cruising the area, they know the police car's there. They'll move. They'll go to Georges River. They'll go somewhere else. They'll go up towards Bexley North. It doesn't matter for them. What we need to do is to slow them down. So these traffic calming devices, especially in, whoever knows the area well, Russell Avenue, there's a whole section of which park either side of the street. I don't understand why we don't put those rumble strips or or whatever it is, just to, sorry, pardon my French, to piss them off, to not allow them to, apologies, just to upset them, not to give them the opportunity to put the foot down on their car and keep on blasting. They want to show off their cars.
Yeah.
They're not here. They're not there to do anything else. So if anything we do to slow them down and upset them, it's terrific. There was a call for speed cameras there at one point. All right, these LPRs, we've got to be clear, they're not anything to do with speed. They're only to pick up licence plate recognition when the vehicle stops. We as an organisation can't book them. If the car is speeding, these LPRs can't determine that. That's the understanding that I've had speaking to some of the directors on this matter. Yeah, but it's still the same thing. So what I suggest is we expand, if I've got a time limit, we expand upon the traffic calming devices that we really need to have. So be it. If people in Russell Avenue have to suffer with the speed humps, they have to suffer. Riverside Drive, we put them in just to deter these people doing the laps. As soon as we do that, they'll go somewhere else. Unfortunately, they'll go somewhere else in Bayside or someone else outside of Bayside, that's fine, but we move them away from this hotspot at the moment. Because really, we're taking on the role of the police, and the police should be a bit more obvious, have much more presence in the area, and that's a big shame that's not happening. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Souness. Councillor Hannah,
Look, just a suggestion, Madam Mayor, the wording of that number 2 is just a bit clunky and cumbersome. But council investigates traffic calming consideration, and it's not professional. Could I just make a suggestion so that we don't get restricted and just focused on traffic calming? I'm just making a suggestion, maybe the mover might want to change it. Could we just say that council investigates traffic and parking modifications with community consultation? That doesn't restrict you, that allows you to look at the whole breadth.
The mover's happy to accept that change. Thank you. All right, are there, just conscious we've got numerous public speakers.
Just a comment, and so this all started back in 2021 with the former councillor James McDonald, who was the first one to find the LPR cameras and suggest that we have them, and they keep going along, and we're successfully getting them slowly. We don't have any more funding for any more at the moment, and it's great to think that and that Councillor Douglas isn't here tonight, but she was the one that led the charge in Riverside Drive. Traffic Committee said no, so that's where the potential was there, and it was Councillor Douglas that suggested Riverside Drive. I did speak to the police at Traffic Committee, and they can't do anything if someone's sitting in their car. Now, the thing is, once you put restrictions on those streets, where are they going to go? Up round the corner. So Bonanza Parade will be absolutely inundated with people, whatever, I've forgotten all the streets down there. They could go down maybe the Hoonings or go to Promenade. The Promenade's very easy to get, it's a great challenge, and with the chicanes. So I worry about, I really feel that, yes, we should look at it. You've also, and I will say it again, it's got to be in the budget. So don't give the residents false hope for something that can't be done like that. It all's got to be going to our budget. We've got to look at things. You've also got to think if it's the timing, and it's true. Anson Parade, 9 o'clock, get in your car and go or you'll be booked. That is the only thing you've got. So you can have visitors, they can't go there, they've got to leave. You can't park outside your own. So there's a lot of issues you've got to think about. Russell Avenue is an extremely wide street, so Sandringham Street, you're not going to have any parking. The state government has said Sandringham Street's going to be a clearway, so they've lost out. So I'm just saying I'll support it, but you've got to. It's not. Well, Councillor Douglas is the one that really pushed forward. Former Councillor James McDonald was the one that integrated, and then Councillor McDougall was asking for it to be investigated. Now we've got Councillor Cedric. So we're going through everyone, but the problem is you
could you just move the traffic somewhere else? So,
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Any other speakers? No? Do you need a right of reply?
I want to thank every single councillor for adding their modifications and additions. Sorry for all those. Just smiling, it means a lot. These additions are great because it's a collaborative effort where we all come together. The number one issue here, guys, is anti-social behaviour and the hooning, parking and all the rest of it. That is bipartisan. That is something that we're going to work together, and hopefully with consulting with the residents and the traffic committee. And I hear your fears, Councillor Sandringham. They're very valid. And I thank Councillor Barlow for mentioning my name, because I mentioned Councillor McDonald, Poulos, Douglas.
All right.
Thank you. And McDonald.
Thank
and
you.
McDougall. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. So we have a new recommendation which is on the screen, a mover and a seconder. So all those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Thank you very much for being here tonight. All right, this takes us to item 12.6, Notice of Motion Memorial Garden Seat. And I invite Miss Bayari to come and speak for the recommendation. Thank you.
Good evening, General Manager, Madam Mayor and Councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Council in relation to Councillor Hannah's notice of motion regarding memorial garden seats in the Bayside local government area. I first learnt that Bayside Council does not have a policy regarding memorial garden seats when one of my executive clients made inquiries about donating a garden memorial seat after the death of her only sister. My client's sister was also a friend of mine. She was a retired school teacher who lived in the local government area for a long time and continued her community service as a volunteer literacy teacher after her retirement. She was also my swimming buddy. We spent many hours swimming together in the Old Bexley pool, and we both joined the community campaign to support the rebuilding of the pool, now known as Angela and Esther's Aquatic Centre. When my friend sadly passed away in May 2017, her sister, also the executor of her will, expressed the wish to donate a memorial seat in her memory. She then discovered that the former Rockdale Council did not have a policy for such memorial garden seats. I still remember her disappointment. Like myself, she was aware of other local councils in Sydney who value and accommodate such requests. I believe that Northern Beaches Council provides a good example. The beautiful walk from Manly Beach to Shelley Beach is full of memorial garden seats. If I'm not mistaken, all the seats placed in that walk, including the seats at Shelley Beach, are in fact memorial garden seats. I thank Councillor Hannah for bringing this matter to the attention of Bayside Council and councillors. I sincerely hope that Bayside Council will make a decision to explore the possibility of introducing a scheme to satisfy the request of residents who have lost loved ones and wish to donate a garden memorial seat in their memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bayari. Thank you for coming tonight. So we have a notice of motion in front of us, which is 12.6, the memorial garden seat, moved by Councillor Hannah, seconded by Councillor Sandringham. Councillor Hannah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, and thank you, Ms. Bayari, for addressing Council tonight on this matter. This goes back quite a number of years, and as the resident told us tonight, it arose out of a request for someone that wanted to donate a seat actually in the Bexley Aquatic Centre. Now, I don't want to restrict this to just purely garden seats, because I think we could actually investigate the donation of potentially other assets. So if I can get the support of the councillors, this is not committing to anything at this point. This is just simply asking for a report into its feasibility. And of course, I'm hopeful that the report will be positive. I'm hoping for a can-do report. I'm not hoping for a report that presents obstacles that are perhaps based on incorrect assumptions. So Obviously, if I put this up, I'm hoping that report will be supportive and it comes back into the chamber for consideration. The other thing is that you'll note that I'm doing this on the basis that we look at it from a full cost recovery basis, including a component that would be built into the cost that would go towards the future maintenance and replacement of the seat or other asset. So this is something that the council could have complete control over. We would develop the policy. We would have control over the policy. This wouldn't be something that would be willy-nilly everywhere. And I really do think it's something that we should be investigating. The other thing is that we could possibly even use this for renewal of some of the seats that we actually have to renew, or some of the playground equipment that we have to renew. There's people out there that want to donate things, so it doesn't necessarily be for people that have passed on. It can be for people, that's what I'm looking at. So I hope I get the support tonight. This is not committing us to anything. This is just looking at the feasibility of it, and I'm hopeful when the report's prepared that it is a positive one. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. Councillor Sandringham.
Madam Mayor, I rise to support this great idea, but I think what the Speaker said, we need to check with the other councils in terms of how they operate their policy, not just our own, but their policy, because we want to make sure that we get it right and it's respectfully done in terms of the parks, and we've got to set the criteria that it can't be offensive or make remarks in relation to I actually think it's a good idea because it will probably give us an idea where people will go walk in the park and they'll read it and sort of think about it. It's like the President's Walk that the Prime Minister said, the Prime Minister, where you go, you walk, you walk along there. I admittedly haven't been there for a while, but I remember when it first opened up, I was surprised. You stop and read what's there. It's like the Brighton Memorial playing field with the memorial there. You just sit there and read, and you find the history of it. The only thing we want to be careful of, and I'm not sure how this is going to sound, we want to make sure it doesn't state that they're buried there, because we've got a memorial plaque in Brighton, little thing there, and people think that the former council was actually cremated and buried there, and some of the kids get a bit scared. So we just got to make sure the wording of it. So I support what Councillor Hannah's make a suggestion.
Thank you, Councillor Sandringham. Councillor Souness.
I too support it. We do need a policy surrounding what we do put into place, and it's something Councillor Hannah's been kicking around to speak now for in the term he was here before. But the only issue that arises, and I think it's a very, very good thing, when it comes to community groups donating certain things, and we had an issue once, which the General Manager will attest to, surrounding a tree that was planted, talking about a genocide that a certain group had undertaken. Now that tends to offend the other half of the community. One half of the community wants it, the other half doesn't. But when it comes to individual donations, I don't see an issue with that. If there's a person who in their will wants to donate something, or through their executor wants to donate a seat or a tree or some other asset to our community, I can't see an issue with that. And we do need a policy surrounding that, and the sooner the better we get that policy put together, getting the best pieces from around the area, from around our other LGAs. Let's go forward with it.
Thank you. No other speakers? Do you want to write a reply?
Just make the comment, I think at the time when this was raised previously, I did present a policy from Burwood Council that was pretty well researched. I'm not saying that that's the one that we would necessarily follow. There's plenty of other councils that have got policies on this. There's other organisations, botanical gardens, federal botanical gardens, there's subscription, there's a whole range of things that could happen with this. So I think when the report's prepared, if they just pick the eyes out of all that stuff that's already out there, I'm sure that we can come up with something that's really workable. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. So we have a motion in front of us. All those in favour say aye. Against, I declare it carried. Thank you. I will now go to 12.8, notice of motion places to swim grants. And I believe we have a Mr. Simon Wilkes online speaking for the recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. My name's Simon Wilkes. I'm with the Canoe Club in Tempe on the banks of the Cooks River, and I'll be speaking in respect of this matter in terms of the places to swim grants and speaking in favour of the recommendation. There is an upcoming funding opportunity from the state government that represents a great opportunity for Bayside Council and other councils as well to really work together and to improve our rivers and our waterways, making them both swimmable, paddleable, and more importantly, just enjoyable. Delivering improved waterways and the ability to get in, on and around them delivers many benefits for our communities. Mental, physical health, recreation, improved water quality, reduced litter, to name a few, and again, just the broader enjoyment for our community. As part of round one, our Canoe Club, working in conjunction with Inner West, was successful in securing funds, so it is definitely possible, and round two is now on the way. We are working with a range of stakeholders, the different councils, Sydney Water, community groups, to really build an overall paddle trail to try and bring a much brighter future for the Cooks River and other waterways. This presents an opportunity for Bayside Council, so I'd like to speak in favour of the recommendation and thank you for your time this evening, and thank you to Councillor Lee Douglas for bringing the matter forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Wilkes. So we have a motion that asks moved by Councillor Morrissey, seconded by Councillor Jansen, that council applies for grants. All those in favour say aye.
Sorry, we want to both say.
Oh, sorry. Jumping ahead. So would you like to speak?
Only to say, I think this, it's a great initiative. It goes towards the health of our community, but it will also support, hopefully, the ongoing reviews of the health of our waterways. Bayside Council is part of the Sydney Coastal Council's group, which I attend on behalf of council, and we're constantly advocating for things like, Councillor Hannah made one of the submissions as well in relation to the health of Muddy Creek, the sand movement, sand erosion, the rubbish that drifts in and out of, or mainly into Botany Bay, along our beach fronts, etc. So I think if we can, if there's an opportunity to improve our waterways in general, both in the waterway and on the waterway, that's a great thing. And I certainly support council officers in scouring the state and federal governments for any funding opportunities that's possible. One of the most important considerations, as we're all aware though, is the ongoing maintenance of these facilities, which has been raised in numerous motions. So when we are looking at these grants, really make sure that there is, as part of that funding model or for the long-term planning, that there is some sort of depreciation or replacement allowance in part of that. It is absolutely fantastic to get new amenities and new facilities across Bayside. It's bright and shiny for a while and it's usually well used, but it does have a life, and that's something that has to be considered when we are taking on any new assets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Any other speakers? Councillor Hannah?
I think this is a terrific initiative, and I thank Councillor Douglas for actually bringing this to our attention. It is a little bit of a shame that the councillor is indisposed tonight and couldn't make it, because with these types of motions it's best if you can actually put the motion yourself, and in this respect it would have been good if she could have been here to paddle her own canoe. But and she has actually provided me with a fertile field for paternal puns. But look, I'll restrain myself and simply say that I think this proposal, when it comes to canoeing, kayaking and paddleboarding, is truly awesome.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow.
Look, I'll just rise and support this because it's just wonderful someone has found the funding, but I would like to thank the Canoe Club because they seem to have taken off really well, and they're promoting themselves, but they also promote the cleaning of the waterways, which they do, and I think it comes up on Facebook when they say we're going to go out. So I would like to thank the Canoe Club for the active participation they have, and I know that Councillor Douglas and her family go canoeing. I think they might have fallen in once, but I think one of them did. But you know, it's just something we should thank. It's a great initiative, but also thank the Canoe Club, which I think is located. I'm not sure on the book.
Well, let's hope we get a grant. All right, Councillor Jansen.
I'm supportive of this, of course, but can I just remind other councillors we are part of the Cooks River Alliance, which is a really important alliance of council, and I think council staff are probably on top of looking for funding and opportunities, but this is a great one because Cooks River has recently got a bit of a bad name with a YouTube video of a particular individual that paddled from the top down to the bottom, and both my fellow Ward 2 councillor Fardell and I are very aware of Cooks River. I believe Anne has paddled it too and owns canoes living on the Cooks River, so I think this is a great initiative.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. No further speakers. Councillor Werner.
Yep. I'd also like to support this motion. I just wanted to say also thank you to the Canoe Club. I've actually been to their place in Tempe where you can enter the Cooks River there, and I think it was the Woolli Creek Preservation Society runs days where you can hire a canoe and then go together up Woolli Creek and Cooks River and so on, and it really is a fantastic day. So yeah, just wanted to say that this is a fantastic motion. I hope everyone supports it.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Well, seeing that everyone's so enthusiastic about canoeing, well, we should all do a bonding canoe trip. Councillor Fardell.
I just mentioned where I live at Discovery Point, we look across at the park in Tempe. What's the name of it, Michael? I can't think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No, the other little one, right opposite. Anyway, a fellow set up a business there, I believe, from what I've been told, with the help of the Inner West Council. So I can see him every weekend he's there, and the canoes are just rented out constantly. He's got 9 canoes. This only started about 3 months ago. Before then, nothing, except for the River Canoe Club, but that's further up. So what I'm saying is it's something that people are wanting. It's just amazing, and he even, during the week, had a huge school group. So obviously the school have contacted him, and the boys were up and down the river. So it's really something that people are very keen on.
Very exciting. Excellent. All right. So all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? I declare it carried. This takes us to our final public speaker, and I believe that Mr. Peter Stevens is now online and he's speaking to motion 12.1, the Woolli Creek Regional Park. Are you there, Mr. Stevens?
I am indeed.
Welcome.
Thank you. I want to support the motion, and I'm speaking tonight as the president of the Woolli Creek Preservation Society. And I sent round to councillors, Madam Mayor, I sent round to councillors a particular slide that I would have liked to show, but we can't share screen apparently. And I'm wondering if I hold that up to my camera, do you get to see it?
No, the councillors can't see you. They can only hear you, so...
Not to worry. This is what it is a high aerial shot of the Sydney Basin. And one of the striking things about it is you can see Woolli Creek standing out very strongly. It's in the whole area between the coast and about Prospect, and between the fringes of the Georges River and the fringes of the Parramatta River, it's the largest and really the only sizable piece of remnant bushland that we have in that whole area. It's hugely important to us all. It's that image, and I hope you will get a chance to look at it on your in your emails, is probably the most important single image you'll ever see of the Woolli Valley, because it just makes it clear why it's so important. And we know that the whole area is highly urbanised, and we're lucky to have any bits of remnant bushland at all. The bushland's about 50 hectares, It's 4.5 kilometres of thread of green across alongside Walleye Creek. The popular Two Valley Trail passes through it, and very soon will do so without you having to cross a single road, which in the inner city is a pretty amazing thing. And it's overall a vital regional, not just local, regional resource. It's used by Bayside residents extensively and by people from all over the Sydney Basin and from further afield, from the Blue Mountains, from Wollongong, from the Central Coast, and occasionally even from interstate. It's been decades since its protection was promised. I take you back 42 years to the Kirby inquiry where into the Kiama-Chilora Road, which recommended that the Walleye Creek bushland should be preserved. And it did save it for quite a long time. It's 34 years since a Liberal government promised its permanent protection. It's 29 years since the Society itself put up a proposal for it to be turned into a regional park under new legislation. And it's now 24 years since an ALP government committed to creating that regional park. But it's still, after all that time and bipartisan support, it's still incomplete. There's still 2 hectares of land that's not even in the pipeline of getting to the National Parks and Wildlife Service who manage it. Well, it's an election period, and the support of councils in the inner southwest Sydney region is very important for us to gain state government action, whoever gets in, to finally complete this park. Support motions of the kind that you've got before you, thank you, Councillor Werner, for raising it, have already been passed unanimously by the Inner West Council and by the Georges River Council. There's already over 1,000 signatures on an open letter of support. I think this is just one of those things, just needs to be done. Let's get it finally finished. Our society would be grateful if Council would pass the motion of support and promote the open letter to Bayside residents to help maximise public support. I thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak to Council.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens, for making the time to speak for us, and thank you for your advocacy to protecting these important spaces in our environment. So thank you. So we have the motion in front of us, which is 12.1, so Walleye Creek Regional Park. I have a mover, Councillor Werner, second, Councillor Jansen. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my family and I discovered the Walleye Creek walking trails quite soon after we moved to the area, about 14 years ago now. And I distinctly remember the feeling of wonder and excitement as we walked along the narrow dirt trails through the beautiful bush and past the cliffs and the rocks on one side, and then Walleye Creek on the other side, which is really more like a river in some places. And I could hardly believe that we've got such wild and stunning bushland in the middle of the city, and it's so close to our suburbs. And although when I access the trails, often I'll drive there and park at Girraween Park or Waterworth Park across from Walleye Creek, but the suburb of Walleye Creek. But for many Bayside residents in Turella, in Arncliffe and Bardwell Park and Bardwell Valley, this regional park would actually be a short walk away. So what an amazing opportunity. The bushland has been under threat before, as Mr. Stevens noted, and it may be again. So I ask for your support for this motion to help protect the Walleye Creek Valley in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you, Councillor Werner, for bringing forward this motion that the Speaker sent to a number of councillors at the same time. I have got a few amendments that I'd like to include. So I think there was one in the first part of it as well. So whilst I recognise this is a really important regional park or area of land that borders mostly Ward 2, this parcel of land is actually in Canterbury Bankstown, so I think we do need to acknowledge that as part of the motion. So there is a suggested change that comes after that council, that as council recognise the Walleye Creek Regional Park as a regional resource located in the Canterbury Bankstown LGA. So that's the first suggested change. There is a third point as well, that council writes a letter to the Honourable Chris Minns MP, New South Wales Labor Party opposition leader and member for Cogra, as well as the Honourable Steve Camper MP, member for Rockdale. So that's what I believe the speaker was talking about bipartisan support from all levels of government. But I do think we need to recognise that the parcel of land we're talking about is not in our LGA, although it is very significant and important for our residents. So
Are you happy with those amendments?
It's just maybe a little bit confusing how it's written on the screen at the moment, because it says it's warranting support from all local governments in the Canterbury Bankstown.
No, that wasn't the
area.
change. That wasn't
That's
actually.
okay, we'll
Yep.
just amend that. So
Yep.
it should just be to, that as council recognised the Walla Creek Regional Park, which is situated in...
Situated in
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
Canterbury
in
Bankstown
the
LGA.
Canterbury, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then there was the third point about writing
Yeah,
to the.
and maybe if we could see the third point.
There we go.
There. Asking for the steps, above to be taken.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Happy with that? All right, we have a mover and a second. Any other speakers? Okay, right a reply. Are you happy?
I'm happy with that.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, declare it carried. Excellent. That concludes our public speakers. So what I'm going to suggest to council, we've been seated for a while, so I'm going to suggest a 5-minute break. So we might just wait a moment and put a pause. All right, thank you, councillors. This takes us to number 10, which is the reports. And the first item is 10.1, the draft planning proposal minimum lot sizes for dual occupancy in semi-detached dwelling. I'm going to leave as well, so it's okay. Yeah, so I'm just letting people know what it is. So there's some people that have declared an interest, myself included, so I will leave the meeting along with Councillor Awada, Tsunis, Naji, Cedric, and I will hand the chair over to the Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
So the tracking off that so you can hear it properly. Thank you, councillors. We're on item 10.1, draft planning proposal, minimum lot sizes. Have a mover.
I've actually like to move an amendment by introducing an option 4. And I think hopefully...
On top of the 3 we have? Yeah?
No, I'd like to move an option 4.
Yep.
Is that, you've got that, is it up there, option 4? Right.
Can we remove the tracking?
Oh, yes. Yes, yes. The sentences down below, the last 2 sentences there. Did you want me to read them out, or can you understand what I'm saying? Yes, yeah. What I'm suggesting is that we consider, if we're going to have a split between the old Botany area and the Rockdale area, which I still don't necessarily agree with, because I don't think just because you've got an area that's got smaller lot sizes, you make them smaller. But having said that, I think what I would like to have us consider is on the Botany side, we go to 550 square metres, not 500 as recommended, with a minimum for subdivision of 275, with the widths unchanged, and the remainder of the R2 zone, which I'm assuming is all over on the old Rockdale side, we go from 600 to 650, which will be a reduction from the current 700, and a minimum for subdivision of 325 with the widths unchanged. Now, if I can have a seconder for that, I can speak.
Councillor Barlow, seconder.
Thank you. So if I can just speak to my rationale for this. The Botany side adjoins Randwick City Council. Now, my understanding is that Randwick City Council have either put out for public comment or have adopted a minimum lot size of 550. So that makes that whole area consistent at 550. When you come over to this side, we adjoin a couple of local government areas, but in particular we adjoin Georges River. Georges River have in their LEP 650. So that makes it consistent with the Georges River. So that's my rationale for picking those 2 numbers. If we have to have a split, then that would be my suggestion that we go for that. That is still a significant compromise on this side because we're knocking 50 square metres off the 700. So it's not going to restrict the amount of dual occupancies too much, but it's something that I think the Department of Planning is probably more than likely prepared to accept, particularly if we're linking it with the Randwick side on the other side, which is what they're going for, as I understand it. So that's what I'm proposing that we consider.
Yeah. Sorry, just one moment. So, sorry, yeah, the decision tonight requires us to choose an option for the recommendation. So are you proposing then that your new option 4 is the motion?
That's what I'm proposing,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, Councillor Saravanowski.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I guess this is an option that's amongst or in between some of the others that have been modelled in the supplementary report, and they range between sort of 700 square metres down to 500 and combinations of them. This one will sit in terms of. I guess there's two main considerations that we've had for it. One is about getting outcomes that are in character with the areas that they're being built in. So development that fits in, and there's concern that what's allowed under the state government's code is not in character with some areas. The second one is about providing some choice in the housing market, and so generating some dwellings that are different to other options that are available in the market, especially apartments. This one, I think in terms of character, would work in some areas. In terms of producing dwellings, in the reports we've done so far, you can see that the recommended option of smaller lot sizes would basically just deliver something similar in volume to what would be delivered if nothing changed. It would just generate a development that we think is more appropriate in Bayside. This option would generate less than the do nothing scenario, so I think that's one consideration that councillors ought to have in their minds. But yeah, I guess this is amongst this. It's not far off other options that we've modelled in the original recommendation, so it's really a matter for council. I guess one other thing to consider is that this is a resolution that would put this on exhibition, so you're not making a final decision now. You can put this to the community and then consider submissions and come up with something different if you think that's appropriate, so you're not committing at this stage.
Councillor, yep. Thank you, Councillor Saravanowski. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Barlow?
No, just a comment that it's a shame we've even had to do this, because I think Councillor Morris, you'd remember that when it was all presented to us at last term, we had a minimum lot size and it wasn't a problem. And that's what was stated, and I asked the question. So we're going through a hoop that we should never have had to go through.
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, this doesn't cover manor houses. The way that permissibility is set up in Bayside in the residential zones, they're not really something that is available for people to do, and we haven't actually seen any bed constructed, so it's not something we think we need to address.
Just a question, again, reminding me, Georges River have banned manor homes. They've increased the size, so it's impossible. Can we ban them at all or not, just in case some bright spark decides they want to build one?
Through your chair, I'll double check for you, but my recollection is that they're actually prohibited in our R2 zone, so that's why there's not really a need to control them.
So just to summarise where we're at the moment, the fundamental change, the recommendation was option 1. Minimum lot size for both Area A and the remainder of the zone has been increased by 50 square metres across both of those, so that's the change. If we endorse this recommendation that's now on the screen, it goes to the Department of Planning for a gateway determination. If they agree to that, if we receive that gateway, then it goes on public submission, and then it'll come back to council for final endorsement. Is that correct? Okay, I just want everyone to know what we're actually voting on. I just want to summarise it.
And just, the negative is saying that they won't endorse it, but we've got the argument is we've got the lowest tree canopy, I think it is the lowest tree canopy. We need that open space. In that small allotments, you can't even plant a tree. So the arguments have to come from from our council to say this is why we're doing it, not say, and that's what I have to do it.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm Chair. I was just summarising as to where we're at, so we all know what we're talking about. So, are there any other speakers? Councillor Jansen.
Through you, Chair, can I ask what happens if the department don't accept this? Can they put their own? They would just make their own decision.
Through you, Chair, they do ultimately have that ability. They would come back and so the next step is we do have to get the department's okay to go to exhibition if council subject to council's decision tonight. So as part of that process, they might want to negotiate, or they might say you can go on exhibition, but you need to do more modelling. So they're likely to put some provisos or conditions in place, but ultimately they would have the ability to decline to let this proceed.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot to stand when I asked.
Probably just a final question here. And it's just for transparency. So, if we're looking at a minimum of 325 square metres, that's for the lot size. But within that, to Councillor Sarafkanovsky's point, there are certain landscaping requirements and setbacks and other things that come into that. Is that just for the record?
Yeah, through you, Chair. There's two streams of development that these controls would affect. One is development as complying development under the state code. Council doesn't have any ability to influence those kinds of things under the code, landscaped area and setbacks and the like. They're preset. So the only thing that we can influence is the minimum lot size that they're allowed to be developed on. So that's one of the drivers for this amendment coming forward. So if a developer or property owner has a lot that meets the minimum lot size, they then go down to the department's code for all the other controls. The second stream is where they come in as a development application. In that case, council can, in its DCP, have controls to define those kinds of things like setbacks, landscaped area and the like. So, yeah, we can control them when they come to us to assess, but not for complying development.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Any other speakers? Right of reply at all, Councillor Hannah?
No, I don't think it's necessary. I just think that this is a pretty good compromise, and I think that this is saleable to the Department of Planning, as I said in my summing up, because of where the two areas are joined, and we're locking into their minimum lot sizes either side, and I think that's saleable. So.
Thank you very much. I'll now put the motion that's in front of us, which fundamentally is a minimum lot size area A 550 square metres, remainder of R2 zone 650 square metres, as outlined in the report. All those in favour say aye. Against no. Declare that require a division. It's all right. So we'll go around the grounds when we'll just bring that up. Thank you. Councillor Muscat.
For.
Councillor Fidel. Councillor Jansen.
For.
Councillor Saranovsky. Councillor Werner. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Hannah. Councillor McDougall.
For.
And myself for. Declare that carried. So we're just making sure we got the count right. Sorry? No, there's two councillors online. There's no abstention. There's no abstention. because they're not here. Yeah. Fantastic. Looks good. Okay, we'll declare that carried. Thank you. Can we now call them back in? Yeah, we can call the other councillors back in. Thank you. Simple one.
Okay, thank you, councillors. We now moving through the reports. This takes us to 10.7, which is the update to the Botany Aquatic Centre. So Councillor Muscat will be leaving the meeting. So I put the motion, moved by Councillor Morrissey, seconded by Councillor Jansen. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, Councillor Councillor Muscat, you may return. All right, this takes us to 10.8, which is in relation to the response to notice of motion Bayside Arts and Culture Advisory Committee. Councillor Jansen.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to propose an alternate recommendation that we move this to the October committee meeting as per the original notice of motion. I feel that the intent of the actual notice of motion has been misunderstood, and whilst I really support and commend the establishment of DAP, RAP, Public Art Assessment Group and Youth Forum reference groups, I believe the intent of the notice of motion was for an annual or biannual forum style scenario where residents can engage and give feedback on key themes, network with each other and generally feel valued giving input to council. I also believe this now is even more important given some of the stats in the report identified in item 10.2, which indicates that 44% of our community don't actually feel engaged with council. So hence I feel the establishment of these broad theme groups is really important for our for members of the community. It doesn't necessarily devalue the subject matter experts of staff on resident groups. Hence I think it's kind of appropriate that it's deferred to October committee, and I'd like, thank you.
Seconded Councillor Sandringham. So the new resolution is that the item be deferred to the October relevant committee. Any other speakers? All those in favour say aye. Against, I declare it carried. The next one is 10.10, response to notice of motion Climate Action 2022 and Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation. Councillor Werner.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say that it's really fantastic and exciting that we've now got the resilience team, and we've got someone leading that, and really appreciate all the hard work of staff to set that up and get that going. So Having said that, I have had some communications from residents about the sort of initial report back that we've had, just sort of making a point of some things that should also be included. And one of the things is about physical risk. So just as a comment, if we could include physical risk objectives, as this resident said they are not clear enough in that sort of preliminary report. Now I know we're just at the beginning of this process, so just sort of bringing it up at the beginning. But so, and also what kind of impact we're having, and whether it's and what kind of education there's going to be as part of that, education of residents, what level of risk is okay for the community, the materiality of physical risk impacts, and the dollar amount that is put towards mitigating those, and then also work to prepare the community for electrification and greening of transport and energy, and that's important as part of that as well. Now the last thing is that we need to have a sharper view of where council dollars are spent, and so what is controllable, impactful relative to the state and federal governments and what they're doing, and also the role that the private sector plays. So just wanted to bring those up, and hopefully we can address those things as well in with the resilience team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Yeah, for raising those, and I'm sure that with the new team, they'll certainly work through some of those. So move Councillor Werner, second, and Councillor Sandringham. No other speakers. All in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, this takes us to 10.12, which is a response to question the Boulevard car park, Brighton the Sands. Councillor Sandringham is going to leave the chamber. Okay, do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Cedrak, seconded Councillor Souness. Any speakers? Sorry? Oh, it's a response, sorry. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Please invite Councillor Sandringham back
Mayor,
in.
just a matter of procedure, I don't even think that you have to put those motions. They're just simply responses.
True.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I'll just, yeah, it'll save time if, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah. All right, that takes us to number 11, the committee. So in 11.2, which is the minutes of the City Planning and Environment Committee meeting, we've pulled out item CPE 22029, which is the draft planning agreement, 215-235 O'Riordan Street. So Councillor Nargin, Councillor McDougall, if you exit. Thank you. All right, so we have, can I have a mover? Moved Councillor Barlow, second. Councillor Hannah. All those in favour say aye. That's a division. We'll just wait to get the division up, please. Okay. All right, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Fidel, Councillor Jansen, Councillor Sandringham, Councillor Souness, Councillor Werner, Councillor Wada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Hannah, Councillor Cedrak for, Councillor Curry for, Councillor Muscat.
For.
Thank you. All right, declare that carried. We have another item. So I believe Councillor Nargi comes back and Councillor McDougall comes back. But Councillor Sandringham remains outside. Rockdale. So noting that Councillor Sandringham and Councillor Cedric have left the chamber. So this is CPE 22030, post-exhibition of the S94A Rockdale Contributions Plan Amendment to include Barton, a mover. Moved Councillor Fidel, seconded Councillor Souness. All those in favour say aye. Well, we've got a mover, so did you want to speak to it at all? No? Okay, Councillor Werner.
Look, I just wanted to say that this motion actually takes, I believe, 24 million out of the developer contributions for Rockdale and dedicates them to Barton Park, which was originally going to be 31 million, but has now gone up to 47 million. Now, the thing is, I'm wondering what are council's priorities for developer contributions? Because it seems to me that there's an opportunity cost.
Hang on, we'll just let the Councillor Werner continue.
No, we're on Rockdale contributions plan.
Section 94.
Section 94 contributions. Yeah. So just a question through the chair, if I may. It seems to me that if money is taken out of the Rockdale amount and spent on Barton Park, what kinds of projects have to be postponed or cancelled in order for that money to be spent on Barton Park?
Mr. Barber, are you happy to respond?
Yes, thank you, through you. All contributions plans have a work schedule attached to them. So that essentially lists out the works that council intends to fund through the contributions plan over its life. So there is quite a few of the works that are in the Rockdale contributions plan have been completed since the plan came into place, and there is still some work yet to be completed, so you could refer to that to see what's in that list.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Any further speakers? All those in favour say aye.
Just another question about Barton Park. Have staff considered changing the scope of the project to fit the original budget, just to allow the budget to stay the same?
Or ask the GM.
Through the Mayor, councillors have been briefed on a number of occasions in regard to the Barton Park project. On each of those briefings or committees, there has been, I think, an agreement amongst the councillors as to what the scope of works would include. So what council staff have worked on consistently has been the scope as approved by the council. We have not undertaken any cutting back of the scope. We've simply looked at what we could do efficiently, taking on board all the environmental factors in that area, but the scope itself has remained basically consistent throughout the process to get to this point in time. I'd also just like to put a footnote on the comment that the director made earlier. This is not about substituting a project. It's not about in any way causing any of the other projects in the schedule to be taken out of the schedule. The money that is being collected will allow us to do this project and the other projects that are in the schedule.
Thank you. All right, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Declare it carried. Now I'm going to leave Councillor Cedric and Sandringham out of the room because they're both declared in the next item as well. which is 11.3 CWA 22.023, which is the proposed licence to Rockdale Illidan Soccer Club. Do I have a mover? Moved
Move that,
Councillor
Madam Mayor.
Jansen, seconded Councillor McDougall. All those in favour say, or any speakers? No. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. Could you please invite Councillor Cedric and Sandringham? Thank you. All right. No, so our next item that we're going to is 11.4, minutes of the Bayside Traffic Committee, and I'm looking at the item which is BTC 22106. And this was matters referred to the Bayside Traffic Committee. I just want to make an amendment where it said the chair raised an issue about no parking out the front of Botany Town Hall. What I meant was the parking spot directly that's inside the council boundary, because some locals park there because there's no signage, even though it's on private property. So all I want is some sort of no parking sign there. I was not referring to Edward Street. So if I could just have that noted, that would be good. Thank you. All right. That then takes us then to the notices of motion. Okay, councillors. So the first notice of motion we have is 12.2. So this one is equal pay for equal play. I have a mover. Councillor Werner, do I have a seconder? Councillor Bardell. Would you like to speak to the motion?
So this motion actually comes from a campaign called Equal Pay for Equal Play, and it has been adopted in other councils as well. This one is based quite closely on one that was adopted in Randwick Council. But I actually feel it's really important for our local area as well. We are spending a lot of money on our sports fields and our sports facilities, which is wonderful. And I think it's really, really important that those facilities are accessible for everyone. And just today, I actually received an email from someone who said that some of the sports clubs that are not male do sometimes find that they are excluded from local fields more so than the boys and the men. So it's really, really important, and some of the things that this person said would be of benefit would be that at the moment they have to move around a lot, whereas if they had the same access as the boys' teams, then it makes it easier for parents because they know where they're going to be, week in, week out, rather than it changing around. The other thing is also having access to fields that have lighting. Now, this is another thing. Lighting, obviously, at night time, it makes it a lot safer for girls and women to play. But at the moment, often they have to play on fields that do not have lighting, and that makes it they feel less safe in those areas. So I think this, I really hope that you can support this motion. I think it would be really helpful for teams in our local area, and campaign that's been running for quite a few years, and in the background notes, it mentions a few wins that the campaign has had over the last few years. So I think it's a very timely motion as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. I did go to the campaign information on the website link you provided, and noted that even the campaign itself asks for individuals to contact state ministers, which is where I believe this responsibility lies more so. I know your motion mentions grants as well as allocation, and I feel that, you know, putting this motion through, although it's like absolutely something I support in principle, is a policy change to the existing grants policy, which I believe what you're saying is already in there, because what the grant criteria does say is that the assessment aligns itself with the community strategic plan, and there are guiding principles in our community strategic plan, particularly on page 12, which are social justice principles that state that all people have equal economic, social and cultural rights regardless of gender, age, race, ethnicity. So I'd like to suggest that we propose a foreshadowed motion that we support equal pay and equal play in principle, but I believe that this already exists in our policy and our assessment of grant funding and field allocations, for example. So that's what I'm proposing, but I do think we should absolutely support it in principle. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. So we have a foreshadowed motion. Do I have a seconder to that foreshadowed motion? Councillor Sandringham, seconded. So, councillors, we have an original motion and a foreshadowed motion. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please indicate which one you are speaking to, the motion or the
I'll
foreshadowed.
speak against the original motion and for the foreshadowed one, only
Thank you.
because when I looked at it, I went, oh, it's a state government issue, and I really feel we need to stick to the roads, rates and rubbish. Now, okay, the example was surfing, right? Randwick's got 2 beaches and whatever, but we actually have a golf course that is a world golf course, but we can't tell anyone that's running, like, I don't know where you can have, no one around here in the local soccer, local netball, they don't get paid. They get a trophy at the end of the year. The netballers, they definitely have their lights on. I've driven past and the lights are on. So there's no comparison. And all the soccer teams, we had the girls' soccer team here from, was it Banksia Tigers? So
Gillenden.
Everyone's being made equal in the fact of the sporting bodies that they work. So I worry that we should not be taking state issues here. It doesn't matter. You take that to your state members, you do not bring it to a council chamber. We have enough on our plate without trying to fight for state issues. And I believe, as Councillor Jansen has quoted, we are equal. And the equal pay, okay, surfing's very different, world surfing's very different to local soccer, local netball, local basketball. So I will support the foreshadowed one, because I do believe when we come in this chamber, we're here to represent our local residents and support local issues, not something that's come through with from the state, and it has to be supported by the state. So my concern is just represent the residents. I know you think you might be, because there might be one person that's going to be a world champion. There is people here. There was a George, he's a boxer. Went to Bexley School. George Cabana, I've forgotten his name. Bill might. He did lose his world championship thing, but he's a local. So we do have champions in the area, but I cannot see how this can work, so I can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Are there any other speakers? All right, there's no further speakers. I'll give you the... Oh, hang on. The foreshadowed... All right, we'll wait for the... Thank you. while that's going up, would you like to write a reply to your motion?
Thank you. Thank you for the right of reply. Now, first of all, I wanted to say it's not just about prize money, and it is actually a local government issue because we are the ones that are providing the facilities. We are the ones that are providing the tennis courts, the soccer fields, the basketball, all those kinds of things. So it's definitely a local government issue. The other thing is that this is about access to space as well. And so I think we really should be, and I know you said you support this in principle, so can I please ask you to actually support it in actual reality as well? Because this will make a huge difference to soccer teams in our local area. I think you've misunderstood some of this motion through the chair. Just to Councillor Barlow, I think you have misunderstood what this motion is about, because it is it's about access to our local space, which our council has control over. So I'd just like to say again, if you support this in principle, then please actually support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Werner. So we will deal with the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? I declare the motion lost. I now put the foreshadowed motion. The foreshadowed motion on the screen is that Council, in principle, supports equal pay for equal play and notes that this already exists in the CSP and as part of the assessment criteria in the community grants policy. All those in favour say aye. Against? Declare it carried. That takes us to motion 12.4, and this is advertising on council assets. Moved by Councillor Hannah, second Councillor Sandringham. Councillor Hannah, would you like to speak to it?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, ever since I learned about the ever-increasing shortfall in replacing council assets and maintaining council assets, something in the vicinity of 150 million over the next 10 years, I think it was, from memory. I've had sleepless nights. It goes over in my mind all the time. And you'll notice the theme that's coming through in some of my comments and my notices of motion. And this is why I'm trying to tick over in my mind, how can this council increase its revenue base? How can it increase its annuity stream, where we get constant income coming in? And in particular, in such a way that we can direct it towards the maintenance and renewal of those assets. Now, this might only be small beer, but small fish are sweet. And I think there are some untapped opportunities out there for advertising, selective, not going over the top, tasteful. One thing that springs to mind is the mattress truck. Don't know whether it springs to mind for anyone else, the mattress truck, but I see it driving around when I'm lapping in the pool. I see it going in and out of the depot. And we did have a business that was located here in the Rockdale Mattress Factory. I believe he's moved to Padstow, but he advertises on radio. Now, there's a possibility just there where perhaps a business like that might want to advertise on the mattress truck. That's just an example. Now, I know, Madam Mayor, you're thinking, well, the job on the mattress truck is a cushy job, but I can assure you, Madam Mayor, that they work very hard. Those mattresses are very, very heavy, particularly when they're wet. So, despite popular belief, they really don't pad out the day. They work quite hard on the mattress truck. So, I don't want it restricted just to the fleet either, because we've got buildings, we've got all sorts of things. So, I hope this gets the support in the chamber. I hope you realise that my motivation is admirable. I'm simply trying to come up with other avenues where we can get income in and direct it particularly towards the maintenance of our assets. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hannah, and we won't take it lying down. I have to thank Deborah for that one. Okay, so any other speakers?
Can I commend Councillor Hannah? I think this is a great idea. It's great to see that we're really looking at different opportunities out there, and we constantly say we need funding and we need this, we need grant, excuse me. This is a great initiative, and I think I commend him and the seconder for this. This is great, and I can't wait to see it happen.
Thank you, Councillor Cedric. Any other speakers? All right, all those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. All right, I now, in relation to 12.5, which is beach signage, and 12.7, which is safer pedestrian crossings on Bestick Street, as Councillor Douglas is an apology, she asked if councillors would be comfortable with us withdrawing those motions to be resubmitted at the October meeting. So is someone happy to move that? Move Councillor Sandringham, seconded Councillor Barlow. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. That leaves us with one final notice of motion, and this is 12.9, notice of motion refurbishment of public amenities block in Mascot. Moved Councillor Jansen, seconded Councillor Morrissey. Would you like to speak?
Yes, there's probably some good puns on this one too, Councillor Hannah, if you're ready, but this particular amenities block is the only public toilets in this whole retail strip of Mascot. So they're quite a small and old amenities block located kind of behind Mascot Public School. The area is experiencing an increase in population, particularly with new emerging communities coming through, new residents. The Mascot retail precinct is becoming increasingly busy, and there have been several representations from residents about the state of the toilet blocks, and this is simply a motion to identify some funding sources to refurbish the facility and possibly use the newly adopted council public art policy to look at a mural treatment on the toilet facility that will talk to the one that's diagonally across the road, also in King Street, which is a very iconic and well recognised mural. So I think it's a great opportunity to do something. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jansen. Any other speakers? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, declare it carried. That takes us to number 13, questions with notice. Are there any questions with notice? Councillor Werner? Okay, we note that Councillor Werner has submitted some questions with notice that councillors can see on the screen there. Councillor Barlow?
I did attempt to send it, but it didn't arrive twice. Basically, the question is that on March 23rd, we had a report coming back about the contract for the pool. We have 2 meetings left, so will the report be forwarded to one of those committee meetings? We only have 2 meetings left.
Do you want to answer it now?
So that's all it was, the question was.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. It'll come back.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Jansen?
I submitted a question with notice regarding an update on the state of the Marina Theatre on Gardeners Road, because that's been lying derelict for many, many years, and community members are asking as to what's happening with that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions with notice?
So the other questions with notice are what plans or strategies are currently in place to protect habitat around the construction of the new bridge next to Muddy Creek and Barton Park? Could council review what happened and report back why so much of the area was cleared? I actually received a number of emails about that, and so that was the bridge at, near Muddy Creek. The next question with notice is council staff reported a couple of years ago.
They are there, Councillor Werner. They are there, Habitat at Muddy Creek and...
Oh, housing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
They're
Thank
there, great.
you.
Thank you. All right, no more questions without notice. That takes us to the confidential reports. We can close the council meeting. Do we need to, or can we just move it? Is there any... is it moved, Councillor Sandringham, seconded Councillor Nagy? Is there any, if there's no discussion, then we don't need to go to confidential? No, so all those in favour say aye. Against, declare it carried. So that then, I declare the meeting closed at 10:22 p.m. So we'll just wait for turn off. Thank you everyone online for staying with us. Thank you Councillor McDougall and Councillor Muscat too.